Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you are, and welcome to another Nerd Nation stream. This is one of our tier list broadcasts. I'm with my usual co-host, returning guest in DC fan, also known as Bossman, also known as Gary. How you doing, mate?
I'm all right, guys.
Very good. And also we're with Bobby, cousin Cheeto. How you doing, mate?
I'm in this little box. Help me.
Yeah, me too. I hope you guys love my new Chrome Dome. Thank you very much. Also had to shave as well, trim my beard. I was gonna grow it really big, but I decided to, fuck that shit, so I trimmed it. Okay, so we're gonna be talking the tier list. We're gonna be doing the films on when they were released. So obviously, Iron Man being the first, Endgame, sorry, Far From Home being the last. Will be the first three phases. Obviously, we have a tier list as well. Bobby, you want to just quickly tell us how the tier list works?
All right, so what we have at the very tippy top is Phase 1, WON tier, which is going to be the excellence of excellence. The second one is going to be the Vision phasing tier. So, Vision phases through things. It's funny. The That'll Do tier, which will be our meh tier. And then our bottom of the barrel, which is our Terrence Howard tier.
Lovely.
Nothing against him as an actor, but he didn't last very long in the MCU. I'm just saying.
So we have four tiers here. For how many movies? I believe 23?
23 movies.
23 movies. So let's just start, shall we? So we're going to start with the movie that began it all. Even I know what the first one is, and that is Iron Man. This film rejuvenated Robert Downey Jr.'s career. It got us. How do I say more about this film? I mean, like, for me, he's got the best suit up scene of all the suit up scenes from Iron Man. The very first one, the serious look on his face, understanding somebody who was once an arsehole and changing for the better, and even though his personality regarding his quirks and humorism is still the same, he has a different outlook in life, and you can see that, you can understand that from what he's gone through. This film is excellent. It's the best Iron Man movie of all the Iron Man films, and I've got nothing but praise for this movie. Excellent origin story, excellent coming of age story. One of the many arcs Tony Stark goes through in the entire MCU. He goes through so many, man. It's unbelievable. And this is definitely one of them. And the first sort of remnants of his future relationship with Pepper Potts as well. What do you have to say about this movie, and where would you like to put it in the list? Personally, before I hand it over to you guys, this is top tier. This is the top tier. I mean, like, it has to be top tier for me because this started the MCU, and if it wasn't for this movie, God knows where we would be now at this particular day and what sort of shit we would be getting. Okay, on to you, DC.
Okay, I thought this is. This is going to be controversial opinion. I think this is the best of the origin movies that the MCU has done. Because because I think that the rest of them, this set like a blueprint for how the rest of them done. I think most of them fit around more or less this blueprint. Maybe Captain America is a little different in some places, but the rest of them fit, I think, this blueprint that Jon Favreau put forward. Now, again, like, I would consider it the best MCU origin movie. Is it the best superhero origin movie all time? No. That's still Batman Begins, but this is still a very this is still a high bar that I get to see an MCU movie jump over. I think it's not been met yet. I think the closest one has been the Captain America movie, but because that's more of a period piece. But I think that in terms of, I agree with you, it should be in the good tier.
Yeah, Bob.
Well, I'm the one who's going to be up a creek without a paddle here, and I'm outvoted already. But I would put this anywhere between Vision phasing tier and That'll Do tier because Iron Man's not my favorite Avenger at all. It was a good origin story, and it did light the match for the MCU. And Robert Downey Jr. has redefined the Iron Man character. All excellent points, true statements. The movie itself, the villain was almost garbage. I didn't
Cliched.
Huh?
Like, somebody is a cliched villain. Somebody you're like very close to you ends up betraying you. Very cliched.
So I would maybe put it Vision phasing tier just because it started the MCU out of respect. But I'm already outvoted. So Iron Man goes into phase
Mate,
one tier.
I just want to also add that this film is also connected to the very last movie in this tier list, Far From Home. That's how significant this movie is. And yeah. Anyway, on to the next. Oh, sorry, Bobby, you want to say something?
No, I was just gonna say the Incredible Hulk is next.
Yes, sir. This is Edward Norton's Incredible Hulk. Regarding this particular movie, my favorite part of the film is Tim Roth in this movie. I like Tim Roth in this film. It was the only kind of bit which got me going. We also had that moment where that geezer who was experimenting on Ed Norton before he experimented on Tim Roth and had some of that ooze shit going, that gamma shit going in his wound in his brain, and his brain starts expanding. We've never got anything from that since, which is unfortunate. They haven't really. This has almost become like this film has become like the forgotten child of the MCU. It really has. It's watchable, and the Tony Stark cameo at the end was pretty cool. Kind of made you realize there's more to this than meets the eye. But honestly, Edward Norton never continued from this. Um, Liz Tyler is it Liz Tyler?
Liv
Tyler.
Yeah, Liv Tyler. My bad. We don't see any more from her. Thunderbolt Ross is the only person to come out from this, really, and yeah, this is well, this is a hard one to call. I'll come back to me. I'll let you guys. Bob. I'll pass it on to you.
For me, I mean, I'll do That'll Do tier. That's the second from the bottom. I wouldn't put it at the bottom only because I liked the movie. I mean, I thought it was a good Iron Man movie. I thought it was, I thought it was a pretty good. I mean, for an Incredible Hulk, movie, I thought it was pretty good. It was much better than the 2003 Ang Lee one. And maybe our standards were pretty low at that time, but I would definitely put this at second from the bottom, which is That'll Do tier.
I would put it higher. I personally would put it higher than that because I thought this was a love letter to the TV series. Like it had, like I think it was a Spanish, like an old TV series that the original guy who did Bruce Banner was in. Was it Billy Batsby? Or what's his name is?
Billy Batson?
Yeah, no, Billy Batsby. No. The guy who originally played him in the TV series. And like I thought there was like also it that there was this pathos that he got away from the world to get away from being the Hulk and stuff like that, and like the fact he comes back and stuff like that. I thought that was good, and again there are good aspects to it. And again, I think that this is underrated a little bit because I think the thing is I don't think the full Hulk on film on his own works because he has to be up against somebody who's a gamma villain, and they're really like smashy, where they're not really like a maniacal, super villain who plans out plans. He's not like Doctor Doom or something like that. They're just like, no, we're just going to get two CGI things hit each other, and there's no weight to it. So I think that's a problem. But apart from that, I thought Edward Norton was fine as the Hulk. And it must be like Edward Norton's reputation for being a little bit hard to work with. That maybe that maybe didn't get in the series, but
that's what I heard.
Yeah, again, I wish he did carry out because again, Matt Ruffalo, while being good as Dr. Banner, again, I thought Edward Norton was better because he's a better actor, but that's my opinion.
I agree with you. Edward Norton was a good Bruce Banner, and I don't have any issue with him being Bruce Banner. Continue on. Mark Ruffalo is great. Honestly, Edward Norton I feel like would have been good as well, but I did hear that he was hard to work with, and I mean it almost seems like it would have been more of a hassle to keep him on because then he would have wanted more creative. The problems is that he wanted more creative control. He wanted, yada yada, and it's almost
he was
like
a bigger actor back then as well.
Yes.
He was a much bigger actor. He was probably the biggest actor they had at the time. I mean, his stock has fallen a lot recently because he's just not making shit, but or anything good recently.
So, Bossman, where would you want to put this one?
I'll go with you two. I'll go in the second to bottom because again, I can't really justify this being I'd do it in the just good category, but I don't think it's in the terrible tier.
Okay.
I actually haven't made my decision yet, but you read my mind. This is probably going in. But I never look at this film as like terrible, but it just feels a bit awkward. It feels a bit out of place in the MCU. Um, Even though it is in the MCU, regardless of General Thunderbolt Ross and Tony Stark being in it, it just doesn't feel like it's part of it.
Well, and it
Anyway,
was in the very beginning as well. I mean, it was
yeah,
before the MCU knew what the MCU was.
I agree.
All right, so that'll do tier Incredible Hulk. Next is Iron Man 2.
You know what? You want to monologue this one, but I got not much to say. One of you guys want to take the monologue on this one regarding this film because I got not much to say.
I can take it.
Yes.
It's forgettable, and it's got one of my worst actors of all time in it, and that's Don Cheadle. I mean, I hate it. He replaces one of the actors who I love, Terrence Howard, with an actor I hate. So it's basically be like, so like, yeah, I hate, so I hated that. And then like it had like Mickey Rourke doing the horrible Russian accent. Like God don't blimey, like he's up there with Sean Connery doing Irish. To me, it's like well, this is Bird, this is Bird. It's like what accent's that? And like I just like, and like the thing is, it's like it was a bit lame. It's like instead of having multiple mechanical enemies, we just have thousands. It just seems like it was a remake of the first one to me. I don't know what you two think.
I think this film is. I think I'll put this in That'll Do tier for a start. I think this is a bit of a disappointment after considering what we got in the first movie, but we did flesh out the MCU a lot more in this film. We got to see Black Widow as well. We got more of Nick Fury in this movie, but those things don't necessarily make a film good if it's still shit in some of its parts. I don't think this is the worst of the Iron Man films. We're going to talk about the other one later on, but this for me will be a That'll Do tier. Mickey Rourke was on the crest of a wave when they got him in this film. His Russian accent. My problem with Mickey Rourke is that he was everything in this film. He was a super intelligent scientist and an incredible killer. You know what I mean? Like he was everything. Like, come on, this guy can do all. He can kill people and he can fucking create an arc reactor. Come on. You know what I mean?
I'd put it in just so category, but because Don Cheadle's in it, I'll put it in the terrible category.
Regarding Don Cheadle, like, you know what? Terrence Howard, excellent actor. But you could see, in my opinion, a more bubbly persona to Rhodey in Don Cheadle's character. And there was definitely a way, like the chemistry between him and Robert Downey Jr. is there to see. They bounce off each other very well. They're both very good at the comedy aspects, but they're both they understand comedy. Both of these guys, Don Cheadle more. I could see that. I'm not sure if that same sort of chemistry was there between Robert Downey Jr. and Terrence Howard. It didn't feel like it was there. But you regarding your dislike of Don Cheadle, that's not why I dislike this as much. Sorry, that's not why I dislike this. No. That's the reason I dislike.
That's not the reason I dislike it. The reason I dislike it is because it's like the first film. Just seems instead of one metal bad guy, here's a ton of metal bad guys. It's like.
Well, we did have like War Machine, and he needed to do his shit. And if he was like using that chain gun on people, it would have been a Red Massacre. So. But yeah, it's okay. I mean, like we got Pepper Potts and Tony having their kiss, which was great. Like that, they didn't drag that, which was excellent. It ended with them being together, and it was the best thing to happen to Tony. You know, like he stopped being a womanizer, which was fantastic. So we got a little bit more arc in him, you know. And he also was supposed to die. Like the fact that he was supposed to die and all that sort of shit, and he created a new element, all that bollocks. I'm not sure about all of that, you know. So yeah, this just scrapes to third tier to me. Bob?
All right. This is y'all are gonna hate me. This is my favorite of the Iron Man movies. I mean, A, Scarlett Johansson. B, Black Widow. C. Yeah, that's about it.
That's about.
I mean, but I honestly like the first Iron Man movie. It as I said, I didn't walk out of the first Iron Man hating it, but I wasn't like, oh, this is the start of something great. You know, after walking out of Iron Man 2 and like all the rumors and stuff that have been swirling, the atmosphere around Iron Man 2 and about the MCU starting, like, and them talking about, at this point they had already casted Thor, they had casted Captain
Yeah,
America, they
the
had already
post credit
announced, and
scene.
yeah, like there was a lot of buzz around, what was going on at
The
this
post
point.
credit scene for Thor was excellent, but that's a post credit scene. That's not the film about Iron Man. Just so you know.
Yeah.
Um,
But I mean, but that was like the first, like, beside, I mean, I know Nick Fury was in Iron Man, and then, but the tease of Thor, and this is where we started. We're like, what is this? Like, what is going on here? So I mean, we actually, I feel this movie for me is definitely a Vision phasing, which is second from the top for me. I like this Iron Man movie. I like it better than the first. I certainly like it more than the third. I'm not going to say it's the best Iron Man outing. I'm just saying, like, out of the Iron Man trilogy, this is definitely my favorite. And I get it. I hear your guys' gripes about it. I'm not saying that you're wrong. I mean, I see where you have. I mean, you're right. They're just there's mechanical bad guys, but now there's more.
no, that's
And
not my issue with it. I just think there's other problems with it as well. But you're tier 2, yeah.
I'm tier 2, which is the Vision phasing tier.
I'm tier 3. What about you, boss man?
I'll go with Bob. It's tier 2.
Okay, dokes.
So you want it to be almost at the top.
Damn, but you were shitting on this, by the way, here, boss man. So I'm surprised you're taking it to tier 2.
Yeah, tier 2 is.
Trust me. My very hot take is coming up. Trust me.
Okay, fair enough.
All right, so we're gonna So we're going Iron Man 2 is Vision phase. I didn't
I'm
think that I would
surprised.
make it that high. I thought I'd have to compromise
Damn,
with that one.
I thought boss man was with me on that one.
All right, so next one is Thor. You guys want me to do this one?
Yes, please.
All right, so the first Thor is a classic. My daddy is punishing me for being a bad person or a jackass movie. This movie I thought was pretty good. It was definitely the first MCU movie that stepped outside the box. It changed all of Asgard and Thor for Marvel Comics, even because they eventually incorporated this into the comics. But instead of them just being gods, they were aliens, and they were just aliens that were more powerful than us. And I mean, it makes total sense. I'm not knocking it. I like the explanation. There's still some plot holes here, which I thought about back in the day, which was, so all these other realms are planets, but it's like there's more than 9 planets in even habitable planets in the MCU. So maybe these are just 9 planets that they consider a part of their territory, but they're pretty vast and apart. So that's one of the issues that I have with this movie. Loki is Tom Hiddleston is Loki, excellent. Anthony Hopkins is Odin, fantastic. Chris Hemsworth is Thor, pretty good. In this outing, he's kind of finding his footing. I feel like in the second one he had better footing, but in this one, not a bad footing for Thor, and not a bad first outing. And on top of that, this wasn't because in a part of the trailers and everything, you thought that they were going to try to use the Bifrost to destroy Earth, because you're like, oh, everything's got to be a threat to Earth. And in this movie, they did not. It was a threat to Jotunheim. So it's not like that we were sitting there going, oh God, the Earth. No, they were going to. Loki was trying to destroy Jotunheim with the Bifrost. So, it was a nice little twist. It's like, oh, the Earth is not on the line finally. It's just another planet, which is good. So I will turn it over to Zam.
Where are you going to put it? Where are you going to put it, by the way?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you. My earbud fell out.
Where are you going to put this?
Oh, yeah. I'll put this under That'll Do tier. We kind of have to be picky because a lot of the MCU movies are good. So I kind of feel like we do need to be a little bit more picky.
I'm sorry. I'm with you on this. I wanted to really like this, and it's okay. We got to meet Hawkeye, Clint Barton in this film,
thing.
Which was nice.
We saw more of Phil Coulson.
More of Phil Coulson. This was probably his biggest part in the MCU. Mm-hmm. It really was. He had a significant role here. more than Avengers, definitely more than Captain Marvel.
No, I feel like his role in Avengers was a little bit more, but I mean, I agree with
It was
you.
short-lived, pun intended. Um, so yeah, but and you got like the being betrayed by your brother thing, like it's like being somebody close to you hurting you, and Loki being the god of mischief. Like he's known this guy for 1,000 years. He's good. Haven't you realized he was always going to stab you in the back? Like come on, And then obviously him discovering his origins, which never really amounted to much, to tell you the truth. Loki discovering his origins.
I mean, he the only time he ever even mentions it again really is that when he's talking to Thanos
Infinity
in Infinity
War,
War when he
yeah.
says King of Jotunheim or whatever, and
Yeah, and he goes, by the way, I'm not Asgardian, and which we understand, but then he then calls himself the Prince of Asgard straight afterwards. But nevertheless, I know what he's getting at, though. Everyone knows what he's getting at. Yeah, this is. I don't want to go on about this too much. I mean, the robot. I did like that part where that robot lands, and then Phil Coulson goes, "Is that Stark tech?"
yeah, and he's yeah, the guy's like,
tells me
is
anything
that
anymore."
Stark? And he's like, I don't know, he never tells me anything.
So, but I don't hate this movie. This is tier 3.
Okay.
But onto you, Bossman.
I probably like this film more than both of you because I thought it's a really good Kenneth Branagh film. I mean, again, like because
Too much of a Kenneth Branagh film.
Yeah, because you get the action parts, which I quite like, and I like the fact that the dialogue is very Shakespearean. You get this like fish out of water story that sort of makes sense for Thor, and we get this idea of that Thor fitting in. Because I mean, I personally think this is the best of the Thor films, even though Ragnarok was a good film. Again, I hate the second one, but I think the first one is a really, really good film because it's well made, it's well told, it's well acted. Plus, I think what it also does, it also introduces us to the fact that Thor is having an influence on the world, like that this Stellan Skarsgård's character, looks up to him and and he can't believe it because he grew up with this story and stuff like that, and if I found out, and you get into the mythos of this whole thing of you learn about Avenger, you learn about Odin, and you learn about Loki and stuff like that. You learn about why they are the way they are. It isn't just he's just a bad guy. No, he feels like an outsider because he is an outsider and stuff like that. And we figure out why, and we figure out the way that Thor's a cocky arsehole, but the thing is, going home or being sent to Earth, he has lost some of that. He's lost touch with who he really is, and I think that is a very yeah. So that's why I think this is a really, really, really good film. I think it's top 10.
I want to add, that I loved his relationship with is it Dr. Skarsgård?
Yeah,
I loved it because
that's the actor's name.
Sorry,
I can't remember. I can't remember
sorry,
what it's called. Sorry,
I forgot the name. Is it Dr. Skelvik or something like that? Selvig, yeah. I love this relationship because it's not just a relationship, but you see in the future films, whenever he's in the other Marvel movies, the sort of impact Thor has left on his life. Like he's changed his life. In a way that I really get to appreciate in the latter movies. Like he's got a real different outlook at life and how he sees the universe now as well and everything. And that was quite, when you see how his characters developed his arc, it's kind of touching, so those were good moments, but still nevertheless for the film on its own, it is tier 3 for me. So it's tier 3 for you as well,
yes.
Bob, and tier 1 for you, Bossman.
Mm-hmm. All right. Okay. Well, unfortunately you're outvoted, so it is going to go into that'll do tier. But I mean, it's not. I agree with you. As I said, we have to be a little bit more picky here. But I do agree. Thor is a great movie. As I said, I did not walk out of Thor with any kind of problems or issues or anything. That's one of the problems we're going to run into with this tier list is that a lot of these movies are good. It's just, we have to be nitpicky. So, sorry, boss man.
No, it's fine enough. I'll count out. Trust me, my hot take's coming up. Trust me.
All right. Well, the next one we have on the list is Captain America: The First Avenger.
I'll take this one if you don't mind.
I'm the American here.
Yeah, I know that, but I really feel that this film, for me, this film is number two in the tier list. I'm saying that right now. The reason being is that this film, as a non-American, really surprised me because I was really worried how this film was going to be portrayed. Because you have to understand, Bob, sometimes from when you're at the outside looking in, sometimes the Americana can get a bit much for us, and it wasn't that at all. Here's a guy who's just been given a symbol of Captain America, but he's more than just being an American symbol. Like he's the person he is, and you see some of the characteristics that he would never have probably got if he was automatically somebody who was also a jock. Um, Being somebody who was a vulnerable person, he understood how vulnerable people felt, and he was always trying to look for the best in the world, and he would give his life for anybody, and you saw that in this movie. It was very touching. It was very bittersweet. There was no real happy ending to this film. Like Steve Rogers was becoming a bit of a Peter Parker with the way things were going for him. Just never getting the rub of the green. And it's a good film. It's not a great film. Some of the like his origins was very up and down, which is what I liked about it, is that even when he became Captain America, it wasn't plain sailing. He still just became a puppet. He became a puppet for a little while, but he found his feet and he became the man that he is. And it's an okay film. It's an okay film. Different tier two for me. What do you think, Boss Man?
I agree. I mean, I think it's a good period piece. I love Haley Atwell's really good in it, and I like Tommy Lee Jones in it. And I like the fact that we had this idea of Hydra, but if I don't see Hydra for a while, I'll be okay with it. You know what I mean? Because I put them next to the Hand as like really annoying team. I don't really want to see again. It's like one of those things like we because they're just really annoying. It's like they're dangerous because the amount of numbers they have, not because they have any sort of like overarching good plan or anything like that. And I thought this was, we got the Red Skull, and that was good. And I liked Tommy Lee Jones, that was good. And I like the idea of like this was the first crystal, and like the fact that we got Captain America willing to sacrifice himself. Sorry, spoilers for the film. But I thought
like a 10-year-old movie.
But trust me. Oh, people get upset when you talk about certain people dying from like a film from 1986.
Yeah.
So. But as I said, yeah, I think it's a really good movie. As I said, I agree with Zam. It's a second tier movie because again, they're really really excellent movies. As I said, a top tier. So.
Okay, and I am also in agreement. I will put this in the vision phasing tier, which is tier 2. So yeah, I mean, you guys basically hit the nail on the head. The only thing that took me out of this film, and back then I was a little bit more of a stickler for stupid stuff, was the laser guns. And I get that now that we've got the entire Infinity Saga behind us, I realize it's a little, it's different. But it's like, why in World War II do they have these laser guns? And I knew why, because they siphoned energy. I understood it, but I felt like it took me out of the movie and the period when they did that. And as we've gotten more MCU movies, I feel I've gotten more over that. And as I've honestly grown up more as a film watcher, I've also kind of been like, there's a good explanation. They're harnessing the power of an Infinity Stone. So, spoiler alert for an 11-year-old movie.
Just want to add a couple of things. First of all, we got to see Howard Stark as well in this movie, which was pretty cool. And we saw we've seen different phases of Howard Stark now, which is interesting, and he's been played by different actors.
And Peggy Carter.
Yeah. And also, unfortunately, we only got like one interaction, or we got a couple of interactions, but in the sense that one movie between Captain America and Red Skull, and Red Skull is like, in my opinion, the top tier Marvel supervillains. And
I think back in the 90s, I would have agreed with you, but
I know what you mean. I know what you mean, but because he's been relegated by how they're using him. But he can still be a top tier guy like Doctor Doom and all those other guys. He can still be up there. But unfortunately, I just don't think it's ever going to happen in the MCU.
All right, so the next one is the big one, guys. End of Phase 1, Avengers. And for you guys, Avengers Assembled.
Yes,
Or
thank
Avengers
you.
Assemble? Is it
Do you want me
Assemble?
to do it?
Assemble.
Do you
Please.
want me to do it?
Yeah, sure.
You can
Go for
start.
it.
Yeah, go for it. Start.
It sucks. All right, it's a terrible movie, right? The thing is that like it's a Joss Whedon toss fest, right? That's basically what it is. The thing is that the second one is better. Age of Ultron is better. The thing is that what this is kaboo kablam for 2/3 of it. And I'm sorry, you need pauses, you need actual drama, you need actual stakes, you need character development. You don't get that here. What you get is Joss Whedon do what he always does, which is doing pop culture schlock of the worst kind, and he's all like this. This person doesn't like this person because he's an alpha male, and we know those alpha males. It's like, come on, grow up, guys. You're in your 30s, if you're not your 40s. And the thing is that like the only good thing about it is Loki. That's the only good thing about it. Everything else makes no sense. That bloody stick is horrible. That horrible touchy stick. Oh, I'm going to make you a bad guy. Pow! That's horrible. The whole thing, and then, do you know what stops it? Iron Man's plate. How shit of a superpower is that a flaming stick is stopped by a flaming a heart compressor? And the end, this planets of the threat, how did it end it? By sending a goddamn bomb into some outer world, and that's what shuts it off. That's switch off ball for this entire fucking army. It's fucking horrible. How people can like this fucking movie is fucking horrible. Sorry.
I just want to say that you hate that film so much you're pretty much frothing at the mouth.
I hate it. I'm sorry. I hate it. Sorry. I know that I'm in the very much the minority on this film, but
you're tier 4, I guess.
Oh yeah, it's terrible.
All right.
I told you I had a hot take.
Go on, Bob.
I mean, Bossman makes some compelling points here. I mean, it's never going to make me hate the movie. I mean, and he's right in the fact that it's like we've had all these movies to build up to this one, and it's like, and I think we would have at this point with superhero movies and where they're at, I think we would have taken just about anything of this kind of caliber because we did. I mean, it was the first time we had this big assembly of superheroes
Crossover and
everything.
Yeah,
so
massive crossover.
Let's say that and this is kind of a revelation for me right now. I'm not going to lie, boss man. But, I mean, so let's say we plop Avengers out of the timeline and put it out, like, now. Like, let's say after Endgame, the next movie is Avengers, the first one. We would probably tear it to shreds because of stuff. So, I mean, if we're being completely unbiased, I'm not going to say it's low tier. I will not say that because I did really enjoy the movie, and I still do. I watched it probably about a week or two ago. I'm not going to lie. I'm going to put it at vision phasing, which is tier 2.
Okay. But I want to make this compelling point to you and say to this. It is basically the same film as Justice League.
And I do not disagree with you. However, I did like Justice League. And
it's a guy coming from the sky, fascinated with a box that he wants to get from the bad guys to try and take over the world. He's got some weird alien things that come over and invade everything. And the only way to disable them is to disable him and to disable this big turn off button. It's a shit film, and everyone else is coming around to my thinking that it's shit.
All right.
And again, I know I'm in the minority, but everyone else will come around to my thinking eventually.
I'm not going to come around to your thinking. I need to interject. I cannot come around to your thinking. I'm putting this in the top tier as far as I'm concerned. What you say, it can be dissected because even though the stories are similar between that and Justice League, the MCU did it better because they had previous movies to make that shit more understandable when it happened in Avengers Assembled.
I'm going to interject as well because there were almost just as many movies between, and I'm not saying there were good movies, but between Man of Steel up through Justice League, there were just as many movies.
Steppenwolf was not even a consideration. Whilst we already saw Loki, we already saw Loki in 4. Yeah.
Okay.
So he was already established.
But Darkseid was already teased in Batman v Superman. Shit film, but it did tease Darkseid.
We already had Loki as a main character in 4, so we knew who he was. So he was also, he was
you have
returning.
A point there. Fair enough.
Yeah. So,
but a grand alien army is destroyed by a goddamn bomb.
I mean, it's a nuke, to be fair.
And well, bloody dig. Oh yeah, that's a switch off button. It's like, whenever we have an alien invasion, that's the way that we destroy them. I mean, I just realised what's this is a rip off of Independence Day.
No, it's not, it's a rip off of bloody
Phantom Menace.
Phantom Menace.
It's a rip off of Star Wars. Yeah, destroy the flaming big in the middle of it.
For me, it all worked. We got introduced to Mark Ruffalo's Hulk in this film,
I agree with that.
and that was a good introduction.
Good
we lost Coles. We lost Coulson. We saw some of the interactions and some of the chemistries between all of these Avengers who'd be, gathering together several more times in the future. We got more out of some of the sort of supporting characters who end up being more main characters later on, like Hawkeye, like Black Widow. We got to understand them a bit more. They were more than like Hawkeye. Like Black Widow stopped being a piece of ass after in Iron Man 2. She was definitely just there for her looks. From this movie onwards, it was more than that. I stopped looking at her as a piece of ass after this film. I like the fact
they
that
flaunted it well enough in that movie. I'm sorry, but
yeah, they did. I did. But one of the things I liked about Black Widow foreshadowing as well is that she constantly changed her hairstyle, and that was pretty cool for some reason. I just like that. It's a nice little touch. But for me, this is top tier. You're number 2. You're number 4. So where we're going to put this?
We're going to put this probably in 2 because I mean,
makes sense.
I mean, sorry, boss man, but yeah, you are in the minority. So, so that caps off phase 1. What I'm going to do is the way we're going to do this.
Sorry, one more thing. Like I forgot to. I just had a great time watching this film. I ended up very happy.
Absolutely.
I was very, very happy at the end. Post-credit scene with Thanos as well. We knew what was. This was the beginning of something amazing. And even though it was the beginning of something amazing, this was also the culmination of something prior to that. So there's more to come after this. And it wasn't even the ending. There's more. It's just great.
All right, so phase 2. Let's get right into it. We are going into my least favorite MCU movie ever. Period. At the bottom of the tier, it's like in the sewers. Iron Man 3. So you guys have if you want me to run, the movie is basically Tony's got PTSD from Avengers, kind of like Gary does. That's it. Like, he takes on Aldrich Killian, which is the leader of AIM, which is sad that we've never seen that organization since. And also, there's the Mandarin, which honestly, in my opinion, could have been one of the better villains. All the marketing was fantastic for this villain and everything like that. And they I loved it. I was going, I'm like, even if it's not magical 10 rings, I think that Ben Kingsley as this character, he's playing it so well. And what they did to what they did to the Mandarin, not the fact that they made him Middle Eastern, not the fact that that made more sense in the change in Iron Man's origin. But what they did and then even the icing on the cake is at the end is when Killian's like, I'm the Mandarin. I'm like, oh, fuck you. It's just so bad. So bad. I didn't even like the mustard Iron Man outfit. I didn't. The whole little the pot. What is it? Like the compartmentalized suit where it just kind of flies at him.
He had a real bond with that suit for some reason, did he?
Yeah. It was so bad. All right, so I hated just about every aspect of this movie. Even when he went incognito and he's made all his little gadgets and was electrocuting people. And I get it, he could do it, but it was still, to me, it felt dumb. And then, and Killian was a terrible villain. AIM was used so piss poorly. Turning Pepper into a what was it again? I don't even remember what they were called. They explode men. I don't remember.
Yeah,
I can't even remember what it was called. Extremis, I think, is that it? It's something like that.
Something like that.
Trying to pull on the emotional heartstrings with fucking
and then
with what's his face, Happy getting blown up and shit.
Yeah, and I didn't mind that so much. That was okay because
I thought it was stupid.
Oh, I thought it was okay. I thought
it was just there for a reaction.
And then him blowing up the suits at the end, really, and then turning it War Machine into the Iron Patriot. Come on, there were so many bad things in this movie. I walked out of this movie like ready to. I hated it. I hated it so much. So Terrence Howard tier. So Terrence Howard gets his first vote from me. All right, let's go to Boss Man.
I didn't hate it as much as you did because I thought it was a masterful troll on the part of MCU to have like it seemed like the bad guy's going to be the Mandarin, and then what do you get in it? You just get a side of, oh no, my name's Trevor and I'm an actor, and I just looked at it. It was just like it's like. You got everybody. Like I've got to give a tiny bit of respect for that they managed to get everybody, even though I can't disagree with anything you've just said. Like as I said, like the whole exploding people thing was dumb. The whole thing with I'm the Mandarin, and then like when he's first there, he's got we know he's a nerd because he's got blueprints and he's got he's got works. He's like hey there, Mr. Mandarin, can I come to you? And he's got really bad teeth and he's got glasses and stuff like that. It's just it's like oh my god, really? And then like and it's just like but as I said but as I said, I have to remind the fact that they trolled everybody. There has to be a little bit, a tiny sliver of respect for me. So I think it's 3 still, but I can't disagree with you that it can't go any higher than that because it is quite a bad film.
All right, Zam.
This is number 4 for me. This first, I want to quickly add regarding the Trevor Slattery thing. I actually, back on my part of me, thought to myself, is he actually just a guy who's an actor? Like playing a role. I thought to myself in this because it just seemed a bit far fetched what he was, and I wasn't too shocked that he ended up being an actor. And at the same time, I'm not pissed off that he wasn't the real Mandarin. That doesn't bother me at all. But I do think this film is absolutely shit. There were some good moments in it, but people want to see more War Machine as well as Iron Man. We got a bit of him near the end, where a bit like how Robin became, how Chris O'Donnell became Robin at the end of Batman Forever. We got a tiny snippet of it at the end. So now we got Iron Man 3. Give us more War Machine in this movie. But no, and I don't mind Iron Patriot, but he's doing nothing. You got Don Cheadle running around in a green T-shirt doing nothing, man. I mean?
Yeah, I think they just used it to kill off Happy Hogan and stuff like that. Well, not kill him off, but just like
injure him, put him on, bench him.
it's like going, oh, John, you did two great movies.
Well, they eventually bench him. They ended up they kind of benched Don Cheadle later on as well. But everything about this film is shit. I mean, the premise has started really well, like with the Killian character, with him, being forgotten about by Tony Stark, who's banging this bird, they end up killing off later on anyway. It's good. The Ensign callback was okay, I guess. The scene where he saves the people in the plane is pretty cool.
I did like that part. I did like him saving the people falling out of the plane.
That was pretty cool. But when you watch the film a couple of times more after that, you think, oh, this is a bit stupid. Actually, I think these people be too busy panicking to think about grabbing each other. But nevertheless, it's an absolutely terrible film. I mean, they did cure Pepper Potts. Yeah, she never ended up keeping the powers.
Yeah, no, it was a one line at the end of the movie that they cured her.
And the fact that he then removes the shit, I never liked the fact that he moved the reactor from his chest. I was never a fan of that.
That's another thing I thought was dumb. And they knew that they had more movies coming.
And the fact that he just destroyed all his suits, and then there's nothing. I'm sorry for foreshadowing, but it is important that it doesn't come up at all in Age of Ultron, where he's just flying around in the fucking suit again like nothing's happened.
They did talk about it in Civil War, but yeah, that's it. I mean, there's no mention of it.
There's a bit of a gap there, but nevertheless, yeah, this is a terrible movie. We got to see maybe the future Iron Lad and that young lad, and all of that, but
who looks like an adult now. Have you seen the kid?
Yeah. Well, we saw him in Endgame.
Yeah.
So,
all right, so I'm going to put this right where it belongs at the bottom. All right.
I mean, it's just like you have to also know this is Iron Man 3. This is Iron Man make it good for fuck's sake.
This is the end of a trilogy.
Yeah, make it good, man. This is like this would be like this is like one of the main guys. He's having this is his movie. Make it a good film, and you give us this, especially after what they did with the second one, which was average at best. To make it even worse, you would have thought they would have learned from the mistakes. They got more shit to feed off, but no, they give us that absolute bollocks. Really upset. It's a disgusting film. I hate it.
All right. So let's move on to the next one in phase two, which will be Thor, the Dark World. And I'm going to have Zam start with this one because I know Gary doesn't like it.
I'll be honest with you. I think I've seen this film maybe twice. I can't remember fuck all. I mean, this film was. I should have been happy about this movie. It's set in London, for fuck's sake. You know, the main shit happens in Greenwich and stuff. I do recall like the kind of redemption with Loki, but you can trust him. I'm surprised Thor was able to trust him at the end because he might have thought that Loki might have done the triple cross on him. You know, it's just weird. Obviously, his mum dying was a significant part, and I guess that pays homage later on. We kind of see what the reality stone is. It's not really a stone; it's liquid. It's the ether.
Yeah, this is the first, technically the first time it is referenced as an Infinity Stone. Like anything, like the cosmic or the Tesseract, we didn't know was technically the Space Stone. The scepter we did not know had the Mind Gem in it. At this point, this is the first reference to an Infinity Stone, or Infinity Goo, whatever you want to call it.
Exactly. So I'm not sure if I hated this movie like I hated Iron Man 3, but I just can't. I have got. This film is so forgettable that maybe it should be at the bottom for that alone. You know what I mean? Just for that alone. So yeah, bottom four. Yeah, bottom four.
Terrence Howard tier for Zam. All right, Gary, go for it, man.
I've got one word to describe this film. Boring as hell is what it is. It's boring as hell. Nothing happens in it, and nothing happens quite a lot. What is this? Christopher Eccleston, sorry, is this space elf who gets woken up, and then he kills off Freya, goddess, fighting just so that to have something to do, and it's just like boring. It's and again, nothing happens in it. I mean, can you remember a single thing apart from Loki dying that happens in this film?
That he blew up the curse dude.
Okay.
I mean, Loki dies. That's his stick. Like
no, but him actually taking over as his dad was the one memorable thing about this movie.
All right. That's
the only. But even then, that's still Thor, and it's only memorable because of the way it leads into Thor Ragnarok. But other than that, the film is still shit. It's still it's tier four.
It's definitely a tier 4 for me.
Yeah.
All right, well I'm outnumbered, but I'm gonna give my opinion. I actually like this is my favorite of the Thor movies. I like it because it did it, and the same reason why I like Iron Man 2. There was a lot of world building, but on the cosmic scale, they they kind of gave us a glimpse into some of the other worlds in the Asgardian realm of the cosmic MCU. They explained a lot more of the Asgardian, technology and stuff like that. There were little nods here and there. The dynamic between Loki and Freya, and then Odin and Thor, and then them crossing. Like there was a lot of good stuff here. And then a lot of and I get it. I get your guys' gripes. I really do. I mean, for me, if it were my choice, I would probably put it at the second tier, vision phasing tier, just because I really enjoyed it. I walked out of this completely revitalized. Like after walking out of Iron Man 3, I was really discouraged. I'm like, oh God, is this what we're really getting into in phase 2? And then going into, and I get it, the villain was forgettable. Okay, I'm okay with that. Well, I'm okay with that because Loki was really good, but Loki was in both Thor 1 and Avengers. I was ready for something a little bit different, and that's why the Dark Elves. It also introduced the Infinity Stones. We got to see, the Infinity Stone. I've never been a fan of Jane Foster or Natalie Portman as Jane Foster. So that was all forgettable for me. But the dynamic between like Thor and Loki and all this other stuff going on just really this movie hit me the right way, like Iron Man 2 did. I know I'm in the minority with that one, so we're gonna put it in the Terrence Howard tier, but I really did enjoy this movie a lot more than
just another thing as well, like Jane Foster being infected by the ether, making her the classic damsel in distress bollocks. It's just very cliched. Yeah.
Okay. All right. The next one we're rolling into is going to be a big one. Captain America: The Winter Soldier. Boss man, go for it.
This should be the first tier. This is an excellent movie because it has political intrigue and it has political commentary with Robert Redford in it. I mean, because even much as I hate Hydra, as much as I hate the Hand, there is a reason that they exist here, and like Robert Redford is this maniacal political leader, sort of a Nixon-esque character, and I like that, and I like the fact there's layers to intrigue, and Nick Fury has to pretend to die in it, and there's all this idea of political machinations within Shield, and how much of Shield has been corrupted and who works for him, stuff like that. There's a lot of spy elements and stuff like that. I thought this was a really, really, really good film because it was something that again, this is what DC should be doing. Something that Marvel doesn't do a lot of, which is a spy movie that's actually a superhero movie. Because it's Steve Rogers is trying to redeem his friend. But how much of his friend is left, and that's a very Shakespearean aspect. How much of a person is left after they've gone through the the brainwashing that Hydra does. So.
Well, and honestly, we don't know a lot. Steve Rogers doesn't know until honestly the beginning of the third act that's Bucky. I mean, we all knew it was Bucky, but at the same time, they played it really well. That he didn't know, so he wasn't even trying to redeem his friend until the last act when they're doing the big boom boom sky cannon thing. So I mean, honestly, there was a lot of you're right, political intrigue and everything like that. I'm going to jump in here since I already did. This is one of my favorite MCU movies. It is definitely something different. It has Black Widow in it. And it's a good commentary on what, who do you trust? Who in the world, I mean, I'm not trying to throw any political shade, but it's our governments are all, and I mean, I might be a fanatic. I don't know. But all of our governments are corrupt and no one's out for the people. Everyone's out for themselves. And, they don't care who they step on. And this is very apparent here because that's what Hydra's doing. I mean, they're whacking people just to get, just to keep in power. And it just shows the corruption. I mean, the other thing is I didn't mind Hydra in this one only because, you're right. This was a proper place for them. And plus, they were still pretty fresh. I get it that they were in Captain America 1. Made sense in Captain America 2. The one thing I didn't like about this was Hydra had been infiltrating S.H.I.E.L.D. since the beginning. I feel like after 70 years, I feel like they would have either come out and, taken over by now, or they would have
completely taken over.
Yeah,
but I thought it was very well done, but because they put Robert Redford in place, and to be honest, if you're going to get any actor to portray somebody who's a sleazy slimeball, I mean, as much as likable Robert Redford is in real life, he can portray that sleazy slimeball sort of character that you sort of you don't know what side he's on because he does that real well as an actor.
Yeah.
And I think that, as I said, I think that was a great aspect because he's not a supervillain. He's not Bucky or something like that, or it's not but what he does have is he has intelligence, and the thing is that people underestimate him because he's just this normal guy, and that's what I found interesting about it.
You knew very early on, though, that once he shot his maid, he was the bad guy.
That wasn't that early though, wasn't that? That was still
in the middle of the film, but you kind of got it. But you see the Winter Soldier there and stuff like that. But what I want to interject with is that this film made me start to realize, shit, they are pulling stuff out of the comics now. They're doing comic book shit for real now. They're not just okay, here's the new baddie of the week of the movie. They're making a massive arc with this now. And they used the Sebastian Stan, who was in the first movie as well. So they really are storytelling now in the movies. This is a proper sequel, not just a villain of the movie, and I loved it for that alone. The story itself was fantastic. There were some great scenes. I think some of the most the earliest memorable, when it comes to scenes people love and remember and constantly talk about and harken on about, is the elevator scene. You know what I mean? It's such a popular scene that they repeated it with a twist in Endgame. So it's it's got memorable moments in that. The story was captivating. I have to admit, when I walked out, I was so happy because I thought, fuck me, I just watched a really good movie, not just a good superhero film, but a really fucking good film that got me hooked. Had some great moments. That part where where they're hiding from Shield, in plain sight. Captain America and Black Widow, they're walking around and like they're trying to act like a couple and they're giving each a kiss and shit like that and stuff. It's really clever. Stuff. I loved all of that. It was really clever, and we got to meet Falcon as well in this movie, too. Anthony Mackie's Falcon. So that was pretty cool.
Doctor Strange shot out.
Doctor Strange shout out, but we got, like, going back to Black Widow, she was seriously fleshed out in this film.
Mm-hmm.
Seriously fleshed out. I mean, she was like the second biggest character in the film. All of that. We got to see more of Nick Fury. That scene where he's in the car and he's got the chain gun and shit like that. It was great.
Well, and we got to flesh out Shield too. I mean, Shield was a little fleshed out in Avengers and stuff like that, but we really got to see a lot more of Shield in this and how they operate and some of the, obviously the Triskelion and all these other things. So, Zam, where would you put this one?
This is tier 1.
Okay, just didn't want to assume.
This film really like kind of put this is like the standard now.
Yeah.
This is the standard bearer. This film became, it's arguably, for a lot of people, it's the best MCU movie. So
and they would have a fair point about it.
And they would have a fair point. So I mean, that's always going to be arguable. There's never really is going to be the best MCU movie, but that's why we've got this tier list regarding what we think is the best. So this is up there.
All right, moving on. Next up is going to be another look into the MCU's cosmic realm, and it gives us even more of a deeper dive into it with the Guardians of the Galaxy. James Gunn's baby. I'll start with this one. I didn't like this much, and I didn't hate it. I didn't even dislike it. I didn't think this one was like the amazing, super, mega, ultra hit that everyone else thought it was. I thought it was good. I would definitely put this at a vision phasing tier, which is tier 2. But I don't think, like, there are people that tout it as their favorite MCU movie and all that, and I'm like, no, like that. I mean, it's up there, but it's not like the best. I mean, it definitely it was another one that kind of went outside the box with a lot of things, like Winter Soldier. And I feel like they had hit a lot of home runs in this movie. But I don't know. Just some of it was just kind of like, meh. We got our first appearance of Thanos, which was bluer than they intended.
I remember that, sitting on his rock throne.
Yeah,
asteroid throne.
Yeah, that was a bit. That was very
with
James Gunn.
Boosters. With his little boosters underneath to keep his
that was
arms
very
up.
James Gunn-like, and I feel like, honestly, if you plucked that out of the movie and maybe just put it as a voiceover over a shadowy figure, and you can only kind of see his scrotum chin, I mean, maybe that would have been better. Then Ronan, I liked him as a villain. I just wish they would have done him more justice in this movie. That's another thing. And on top of that, it goes into one of Bossman's big points where they start killing the villains off. And I think Ronan could have been a really good one. Like, I really feel like Ronan, if he would have at least lived and moved on, he could have been a good one. Maybe not in his first outing here, but maybe like if he came back in like Captain Marvel, maybe if he and he did come back in Captain Marvel in a small role. But or in future like cosmic movies, I think Ronan could have been a pretty good baddie. And we also got to see the first inkling of the Power Stone, and we also got a lot of the backstory of the Infinity Stones with the Collector and Howard the Duck. So, Zam, I'm gonna shoot. I think I don't know who I shot it over to first last time, but Zam, you go on ahead.
I like this movie. It's a good film. Bradley Cooper kills it.
Yeah.
As Rocket, and in my opinion, this is the best version of Groot. Of all the different versions of Groot we've had, I love Groot in this movie. He is fantastic. Chris Pratt makes himself a household name in this movie too. He's okay. He's good. I mean, like some of the callbacks with the music was a bit cheesy at times. I mean, I do like this movie. It's not like top tier for me, but I watched it maybe about 3 or 4 months ago again after a while, and I thought myself, "Wait, this is better than I realized. I forgot how good this film is, but at the same time, it's not tier one. I'm with you. It's tier two.
All right, boss man, you're up.
Okay, I like this more than both of you apparently, but I love this movie because it reminded me a lot of Men in Black to a degree, and I know I'm not talking about like the way that things are done, but a lot of like, you get to see these weird alien stuff, and like you get this adventure, and like you get this guy who's a bit of a goof, because like he plays like music on his headphones while dancing, to come on and get your love. I'm sorry, we're gonna get done for that, but like when he starts dancing to that, and like I love that. I love the fact like like you get the idea that he's a bit of a womanizer with a lot of alien chicks and stuff like that. But I love the fact that he has this relationship with like his basically pseudo father figure. I like the fact that you get to see him interact with everybody in the team, and like you'll get to know and care about them, sort of thing. And like, I like the fact like at the end they grab each other's hand. I mean, I just love the fact that like the way he distracts the enemies, he doesn't go ooh, it's just like you and me dance off, and he starts going. So I can't remember what I think it's a Michael Jackson. I think it's a Jackson 5 number that he starts to do the dance to, and it's just like. And again, I like that. I like something where it's not. We're not just going to outright fight you because that's basically pointless. But I'm going to have a dance off with you, and just like that is just like so hilariously funny. And I think, and I like that. I like that when something is out of the box when they know that they have zero chance against this like mega powerful guy. It says you and me dance off, and I just love that out of the box thinking that like this guy all he has is his little tape that he's got. And and I love that he uses that in the team. That we would never think about that. And I also love the fact that as you were saying before, Bradley Cooper's great as Rocket, and actually I think Dave Bautista's actually all right as.
I think he gets better in the other. I think he's better in the other films. I found his acting a little bit wooden personally in this movie.
I feel
but
like I feel like he was supposed to be wooden in this movie though, because he was so like hard up and like whatever. And I feel like I feel like being around Quill and all of them kind of loosened up a little bit. That's the impression I got. Like he was supposed to be this very rough and stoic character.
No, but he doesn't understand metaphors. That's what Rocket told him. So like if he says something will go over his head, he goes, "Oh, nothing will go over my head. I'll catch it," because he doesn't understand metaphors. Yeah. But the way he was delivering those lines, it didn't feel that great. I did think he got better as in the other films, but nevertheless, I like this movie. I do like it, but it's not top tier for me.
It's just shy of top tier for me. It's like top.
Okay, so tier 2 vision phasing tier. We're pretty much all in agreement on that one.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, so we are at vision phasing tier. Now, let's get on to the next. So now the next movie in the release of the MCU of Phase 2 is going to be Avengers Age of Ultron. Boss man, you go ahead and do it.
Okay.
It has the same problems as Avengers #1. Well, you see, the interesting things about this film are what it causes. So it causes Brown's emo. It causes a lot like the Soviet Accords, which have things later. So I can't hate it for that. But as a film, kind of sucks. Again, and I think it's down to a couple of factors. The fact is that like we don't see Ultron do anything actually negative for a while. We see him like do like that, building other things, to I've got those strings to hold me down and all that stuff, and it's like okay, and then we just see him manipulate Wanda and what's his name now? The one Quicksilver. Sorry.
Yeah, Pietro.
I would see him like manipulate those two, but it's like thinking they just got out of a maniacal bad guy cult. Why would they be picked up by this guy? And why would they go to? And it's not even a guy; it's a bloody robot. And the thing is like it's just a really badly written plot Why would Tony Stark apply this new AI that he literally found in Hydra's back, was it Hydra's base, into his thing? It's like, I
Because
wonder
he's
why
Tony
this was.
Stark and he thinks he's better than Shield.
Exactly, it's a
You know what
shit
I
story.
mean?
It's a shit story. It's like how can we contrive this? It's because literally it was written by Hank Pym in the comics. It's Hank Pym who comes up there, and it's literally like it doesn't start off like straight away. It's like over time, this thing becomes. It's like Skynet almost. That it slowly becomes that. It's not. Let's take one of our fiercest enemies. Is up there with Abe. It's up there with the people like Thanos. Hydra's basically been a thorn in the side for literally 3 movies now. I tell you, let's do something really intelligent. Let's put their AI that they've been developing to literally wants to kill us. Let's put that into my team, and literally, what happens? All those things is like, oh, there, Jarvis, I will get you. It's just like, for heaven's sake, how stupid can you be? It's like stupidity, and I hate when a plot makes the heroes look stupid. I mean, if it was like one of those things where like maybe like it was put like a nice, that thing like you heard it over thing, and it was that Jay Spader like manipulating them and gaslighting them and stuff like that, and persuading them and stuff like that. I disavow Hydra. They were always mean to me. They was trying to manipulate me into doing this, but like literally, he plugs it straight in there. There's no reason for him to do that.
All right, Boss man, you're going on about that a bit too much, mate.
Sorry.
You're really going on about that, man. Sorry. Okay,
mate.
But yeah, look, I see this film in. Oh, by the way, where do you want to put this film?
Terrible.
You bottom tier, yeah. Okay, fine.
No, actually, it's just above that because of the things it actually creates.
See, I look at this film in 2 ways, and you mentioned this earlier regarding like the foundation building in this movie is amazing. Like, there's a lot of shit that stems from this film alone, and watching it the first time round, I actually was very disappointed. I didn't think it was that good. I don't understand shit, but then watching it again after seeing the entire saga, and I saw it a few months ago for maybe the 3rd or 4th time, and it was far more enjoyable because I understood what was to come. Like, Wakanda was referenced in this movie. We got to see Ulysses' claw in this movie. We even things like Wanda's power. Like when Pietro died, she fell to her knees and started screaming, and all the fucking Ultron bots around her just instantly destroyed. I mean, she was powerful as fuck. We just didn't realize until we start seeing WandaVision and shit. Now it all makes sense when you, no problem, when you watch that shit. Yeah. So I'm this film would have been tier 3, but now this film is now tier 2 because of how I see it now, not how I saw it then. And now I like it. I like this film now.
Okay.
This is tier 2 for me.
Yeah, I'm. This is to me. This is. I know I'm in the minority here. This is phase 1 for me because whenever I thought of an Avengers movie, this is what I wanted. I wanted, a big group of Avengers. We had. Hold on a second, guys. Maybe keep talking. I don't know.
No, I want to also add to this, like regarding the foreshadowing of this movie, like that scene where they're all having a party and then they're all pulling on that hammer. That's become a famous scene now in the MCU. It's stuck around because people love seeing, like our superheroes after a hard day's night of fighting off villains, just sitting back and relaxing. Also, one of the good things about this movie is that they just decided, we're going to have to deal with, we're going to have to nip Hydra in the bud and move on from Hydra. So they began this movie with the Avengers finishing Hydra off pretty much. I mean, they're not really finished in my opinion, but they've been pretty much dealt with as a threat, as a massive threat. And that was one of the good things about this as well. So we don't have to worry about Hydra anymore. So, those were some of the good things about it. James Spader is Ultron. I'm not sure how I still feel about him being Ultron and the sort of character. Ultron was. He was supposed to be a bit like Tony Stark, apparently. And of course, how can we forget we got Vision in this movie? There were some significant things to come from this film. It's just amazing what branches out from this movie alone. The introduction of Wanda Maximoff as well. As I said before, the hammer, all them pulling on the hammer, and like I said, some people say it's been retconned now that Steve was always worthy. He was able to pull the hammer. But I've also said that Steve wasn't worthy because he never told Tony Stark about Bucky killing his parents, which is why he wasn't able to lift up the hammer properly. So there's all these different theories regarding that now. And so, yeah, this film for me is number 2.
Okay.
And on to you, Bob.
As I said, I would put this one in phase 1, the top tier, only because when I wanted a Marvel movie, when I wanted an Avengers movie, this is what I wanted. Not only did you have the original 6 in there, you also had Vision, you also had the Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver. I get it that there were some issues throughout it, and there were some pacing issues. The Barton, you may have mentioned this, Sam, but like the Barton Ranch.
Actually, I didn't, but to see Hawkeye get, like to be basically the star of this film.
Yeah.
Which is very nice.
Yeah, Barton had Hawkeye.
He was
had
the star of this movie.
Oh yeah, Hawkeye had so much good stuff in this, and just and as I said, the big fight at the end. I get it. It's just it's another big explodey fight. I get it. So, but that's what I want. Like with these Avengers movies. I'm sorry. Like if you're gonna sit there and say, all right, we need to take these movies in and of themselves at this point, and judge them. At this point, we have to look at the MCU as a whole, because you can't look at just one individual movie and be like, is this movie any good? Because honestly, a lot of times I don't feel like these movies are made that way. Maybe in the beginning they were, and maybe we have some recently that are, but like an Avengers movie, like like Black Panther, Doctor Strange, those we can say, is this a good movie in and of itself? Avengers, we can't do that, because it's like there's so many characters, there's so many, and I get some of the gripes with it, but I feel like still, this is one of the best. Like, well, not now, but when I saw it, I walked out of the theater so happy, because I got everything I wanted in this movie. I got all my favorite Avengers fighting. I mean, there was just so many payoffs to a lot of stuff that happened so far. So that I would put it tier 1. So you guys, but you both said tier 2, or
I said tier 2.
You said tier 2. Bossman said tier 3, right?
I'll go with tier 2. You guys, as I said, like.
Well, I mean, yeah, we're gonna have
because
to.
You said tier 3. Yeah, it's okay. You said tier 3, so it's gonna be tier 2 anyway.
Yeah.
Because
So moving on to the end of phase 2, which will be the production clusterfuck, which would be Ant-Man. Zam, go ahead and start with this one.
Okay. This film for me was surprisingly good. I think is it Paul Rudd? He killed it in this film, but I think he was also in his element in this movie too. You really felt, it was a really good movie. See Michael Douglas in the MCU as well, which was pretty cool. We got that flashback as well with him being part of S.H.I.E.L.D. and Peggy Carter's there, and Howard Stark's there and stuff like that. And he smashes that guy's face in the table. That was pretty cool. The beginning in the jail scene, how everybody loves Scott Lang. That was interesting. Gave him a going away party and shit like that. But this was like in James Bond references, this was the for yours eyes only of the MCU, because after doing all the grandiose shit, For Yours Eyes Only decided to bring it, which is a James Bond movie, by the way, decided to bring it back down to earth, because they did the previous movie was Moonraker, they did it in space, and in the For Yours Eyes Only, they got rid of all the gadgets and shit like that. They kind of stripped it down, made it a classic spy film, and they brought it back down to earth. And that's what they've done with MCU movies. They brought it back down to earth to a seriously small scale, and I loved it. It was a different pace of it all. It's a good film, but it's tier 2 for sure.
Bossman?
I kind of disagree with that. I thought it was a fun movie. It reminded me a lot of Inner Space a lot, which is what he was going for. And I thought, again, like Peyton Reed, I think, who directed this,
well, it was originally written and originally directed by Edgar Wright, but That's why there was a lot of production issues.
I just want to also add terrible villain in Yellow Jacket, but other than
Yeah,
that,
terrible villain.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Again, I could forget that because the rest of the story is good. Like
Yeah, likewise.
Sorry, because like had him, you're being precious over his gift because he didn't want it roll into the wrong hands and stuff like that, and like the fact that it was the thing that brought him and his
Janet?
daughter back.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
No, Hope. Sorry.
yeah. Him and Hope back into contact and stuff like that because they've been like distant since her mother had disappeared.
Well,
and
actually,
stuff
they
like
had
that.
been working together. I think. No, he was. I think he was retired at home, maybe. And then she was like, like vice president of the company or something. I don't remember, but not that important.
But yeah, as I said, I agree with tier two though.
Which one?
Tier two.
Tier 2, okay. I would put this one for me at tier 3, which is the That'll Do tier. It was a pretty good origin, and you're right, Paul Rudd killed it. And I agree, like this was a breath of fresh air because after Age of Ultron, there was a lot going on there, and it's nice for them to just bring it back down and make it just a nice origin story of a ground level Avenger. Well, like just somebody who's not like got 50,000 Avengers. I felt like the
You had
Falcon.
nothing to do with the Infinity Stones or any of the
Yeah,
overarching shit. Yeah,
yeah, none of that.
nothing.
And I was
Yeah,
glad. I'm like we got Infinity Stones out the rear end. Like
yeah.
yeah, we need a movie without that, and this gave it to us. I felt like the Falcon, although I like seeing Falcon in action more without like
Yeah,
all
that
the
was
other.
pretty cool.
But I felt like that was a little. I felt that was a little like that was pushed in.
Fan servicey. I liked it.
Okay, I mean,
I mean,
it
because
wasn't bad.
it's good to give these characters some moments. You know what I mean? So if we can squeeze them in somehow and flesh them out in any way possible in other films, let's do it. Yeah, I have no
Okay.
problem with that.
And you're right. The villain was just terrible. But we'll put this at
Terrible.
tier 2, vision phasing tier, because that is where the votes fell. So, first one is Captain America: Civil War. Zam.
This is a fucking amazing movie. Just I want to get the negatives out of the way. This is also Winter Soldier Part 2 as well to a degree. But it's good that we, in a way that we also got to get an extension to Bucky's story, and that has benefited the MCU as a whole, in my opinion. But I can see some people's gripes with that. But nevertheless, this film is an Avengers movie. This has got so many Avengers in this film. It cannot be not an Avengers film. But some of the elements of this film are just fantastic. Like there's the beef between the Avengers, there's the introduction of Baron Zemo, who's my favorite MCU villain. It's so well portrayed by the actor whose name escapes me. But seeing like more of how Bucky Barnes operates, that he could be mind controlled and shit like that, and I mean, I'm sorry, there's just so much to it. We get to meet Spider-Man in this film too. The big fight they have in Germany is really great. We see the situation in Lagos as well, which has been referenced several times since. It's just such a good film, like, and the emotion between Captain America and Iron Man, like, I mean, it was a harp. I love the way that it was the big battle at the end was between those two, and how Baron Zemo killed all those supervillains, which was very cliche to have those supervillains fight the Avengers. He killed them because they were bad people. He doesn't want more bad people. He wanted to destroy the Avengers, and he destroyed the Avengers. He won. It's a great film. It's the most heartbreaking of the more heartbreaking than Infinity War. It's left a lump in my throat because of how that film ended with Tony Stark. I mean, he'd never got to avenge his parents to a degree. Like Iron Man beat him. Sorry, Captain America beat him and just left him there. And it's a really sad film, man. It's a really sad film, and I love it. I love it so much. It's brilliant. I've got nothing more to say.
Bossman, go ahead.
Sorry, I apologize, Bossman.
Okay, I agree. It's a brilliant film, and I think that what makes it work is one, Baron Zemo doesn't die. Actually, he stopped from dying. I think it's Black Panther at the end.
Yeah,
of
Black Panther. Yeah, we got to meet
Yes.
him as well. By the way, yeah, I missed out on him. Yeah,
Yeah. The fact that the slow reveal what happened to his parents. It's not rushed. It's allowed to set in. We see this this slow drive of the car. We see it slowly open. It's like and you run nervous tension, and you see him like literally kill both of them. It's just like.
he smacked it. He smacked his dad's head with the fucking car door, didn't he?
Yeah,
and he strangled his mum.
He punched him to death. Like he held him by the hair and he punched him until he was dead.
Yeah, that's a terrible way to die.
Yeah, and the thing is that and the thing is, Baron Zemo did nothing but show the truth. And that's what makes him genius, is the fact that he didn't create some master plan where he's like taking over the world. Wah, ha, ha, ha.
He created a master plan, but not to take over the world. But I mean, his plan was amazing. His plan was fucking amazing, man. but yeah.
And the thing is, he knew that bringing him to that facility, he controlled every aspect. And it literally, when he sat down on that little hill, he was literally like had the bottle of poison or whatever it was in his hand, and then like Black Panther comes over and you don't quite see him, but you just hear him talking to him, and you see him about to drink, and then Black Panther just like wrestles him. But thinking, why can you not do that to every villain? That's the frustrating aspect, but everything else, as I
because
said,
Black Panther's not in every movie.
And by the way, Chadwick Boseman killed it, man. In his introduction, absolutely killed it, and Peter Parker as well, Tom Holland.
I was not on board with Tom Holland right away. I'll get to Tom Holland later, but you keep going. Sorry, boss man.
No, but as I said, the storytelling is well done. The pace is brilliant, and what is missed is that you can see each other's points of view. It's not one where you end up siding with one or the other. You can see where Tony's coming from. That that this guy killed his parents, and you can see from Steve's point of view that he's only just got back in touch with his friend who's not seen for 50, 60 plus years, 70 plus years. And we can understand that. So we get both are relatable and both are understandable from their position. You don't end up going, "Oh, I'm gonna, go with Cap," or "I'm gonna go with Ironman."
But even before all of that, boss man, it was just about the Sokovia Accord, which is what makes Age of Ultron now so good, because the remnants of that was massive. They wanted the Avengers to be government controlled, whilst fucking Captain America didn't want that shit. And that's how it kind of really began. But then they added this next layer with Tony Stark's parents being killed by Bucky, which really came right at the end of the movie.
But that was a plan from Winter Soldier, because there if you notice on the when you look at the date on the death of the news report or the newspaper of their death, it says the date. What is it?
I agree, yeah. But it's not. I mean, it makes more sense now. But I mean, even then, it was fucking surprising as hell.
Oh yeah, no, it caught me off guard too. I was like, oh yeah. Shit.
And so, this film is just absolutely brilliant. The twists and turns, the emotion, the Civil War itself. It's just. It makes me emotional thinking about it. It's that good. It's tier 1 for me. I don't know about you guys.
Tier 1 for me.
I mean, it is. It is. I understand all of Boss Man's gripes with the first 2 Avengers movies. I don't care that much about what the things that he's talking about. I wanted to see all my action figures get smashed together, and and all that, and that's kind of. But I mean, this movie right here, and I'm assuming in Boss Man's perspective, this is how an Avengers movie should be done. And I agree, and I mean, it's a good movie, and you have all the Avengers in it, and it proves that they can do an ensemble Avengers level movie and still have it be not all bang your toys together and just all that. So I mean, I see where you're coming from, Boss Man, with that, and I mean, this movie proves it. They buckled down and they said, look, and not only that, not only is it Avengers 2.5, it is Captain America 3. There are so many elements for Captain, this was a culmination of Captain America's journey from the first Avenger Winter Soldier, and now Civil War. And I can't even say that like the Civil War aspect even overshadowed the Captain America 3 aspects of it. I mean, was it all right there in front of our face? Yeah, but they did it in such a way that I never felt like that this wasn't also a Captain America movie, and sometimes also an Iron Man 4 movie. There was a balance there, and they paid off a lot of stuff in this movie. The Russo brothers are genius. I love them.
Yeah.
All right.
And also in this movie as well, like, you know, the consequences of their civil war, because Brody got paralyzed at the end of
Yeah,
this movie too.
but nobody died. You know, like
Nobody died, but they still, like, well, I mean, they were fighting each other with all their shit. I
yeah.
mean, somebody could have died quite
No,
easily.
and that's kind of and I mean Ant-Man came into the fold in this one. You know, with
Yeah,
that giant man scene in
yeah,
Germany.
yeah,
Oh my gosh, dude, when that happened, I marked out in the theater. I
yeah.
was
Me
just,
too.
but I mean,
And
yeah,
then Spider-Man goes, "You remember that really old movie?" You
yeah.
know.
Oh god, we could get into all the details, but we don't
Oh
have time
God.
for it. But yeah, I mean, it's all so well woven together. You know. So, all right. So the next one we're going to be looking at, and I put this at tier 1. I just threw it up there because we knew it
Yeah,
was
yeah,
going to be there.
yeah, yeah.
All right. So the next one we're bringing it back down a little bit, back to the origin level, and we're going to be doing Doctor Strange. Bossman, take it away. Take it away. Sorry, I know you're hosting, Zam. Sorry.
No, it's okay. It's okay, mate.
Uh, I I actually quite like this because I like this idea of this like cocky like Dr. Kildare esque guy who has the thing that he's most proud of be taken away with, which is his hands. Like, and he goes everywhere to research it. And the thing is, the only thing I disagree with is having Tilda Swinton. And this is nothing against Tilda Swinton. It should be somebody who is Asian, like, you know, maybe I'm trying to think of somebody like, I don't know,
Michelle Yeoh.
I'm Maggie, like Michelle Yeoh or Maggie
Yeah.
Q or somebody who is of that ethnicity, even if it's an American lady, somebody who is that
Lucy Liu.
ethnicity. Yeah, exactly, Lucy Liu, something like that. And the thing is that this is nothing against Tilda Swinton. She's a great actress. It's just that she was wrong for that role, in my opinion. But saying that though, I love the fact that like it has a lot of pop references when he goes like when he talks about Beyonce and stuff like that with the librarian and stuff like that, and he's the most hardcore librarian, and you see like him getting all these equipment to sort of dum up. And I like the fact the way he wins is he annoys his enemy to death. He literally puts that time rewind it. So basically, he's in a time loop forever of killing him. So like he kills him like every 5 seconds. He goes, "The Babu comes to bargain, kill him."
God knows
The
how many
Babu-
times he got killed. By the way, God knows he could have got
yeah,
killed a million times.
probably like a million times. And literally, like Damaro's like, I literally like snaps. He goes, "Right, I'll do whatever you want. Just leave me alone." It's like
Yeah, and
he literally annoys.
I was saying, keep in mind he felt every single death. Like it's not like he forgot about them every single time. Like he, that's why in one of the later movies he's like, well, me and death are what did he say? Like me and death are old friends or something like that. Because he died. Who knows how many times he died before Dormammu got tired of it?
Yeah, but he must have been enjoying it for a while.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I
Well, hold on, Bossman. Where are you going to put this one at?
I'd say between 1 and 2. So I'd say 1 because I think it is excellent here. But again, like I think it just loses a couple of points because there are some points that I think it could have been tighter written. But that's just my opinion. Until just bring it down, but not because of her, but because she just got cast wrong.
Okay, so tier 2 then.
Mhm.
Okay, Sam.
I'll start off by saying this is tier 2 for me, and just about tier 2, by the way. I think Mad Mikkelsen is a great actor, but he was a terrible villain in this. Tilda Swinton as well. I just had real problems with the beginning of the movie when it's all Inception and she's doing all her martial arts. I'm just not believing any of it. I can't imagine it's Tilda Swinton doing that shit. It just wasn't buying it. It was interesting seeing a very cocky Stephen Strange before he gets humbled, but we kind of seen that before. To a degree, the way his hands got damaged was kind of funny. I'm not sure if I didn't like the CGI and that. It looked a bit stupid, to tell you the truth. Him learning and in the Far East and stuff, and before there's one moment where he ends up not being taken in by Tilda Swinton, and he's just sitting there with a massive beard and he looks like a homeless man. I'm thinking to myself, this guy's a fucking surgeon, and he's a homeless man now in Tibet or some shit like that. What the fuck? It's funny how he loses everything once he's no longer be able to do surgery anymore. It's like I like Stephen Strange more in the Avengers movies than I did in this film. There were some cool moments with his cloak and stuff like that, which kind of made him the chosen one to a degree. I mean, like, what's his name? I can never say the actor's name properly, but it was the black guy, the British actor.
Oh, I can't. I can never. I know Baron Mordo.
Yes,
the guy who I can't even. I always want to say
he's foreshadowed to be a future villain because he is in the comics. But I just like some of that tension wasn't really there for me, and I don't know. Yeah, it's just about it's okay. I mean, I think by this particular point in the MCU, we can almost forgive them, and we almost like stuff which are kind of average because they've done such a good job by now. But this is two.
Two?
This is
okay.
two. Yeah.
And I agree, it's tier 2. But this is one of my favorite origin stories. I mean, I get it that it's cliched with the cocky doctor then being humbled. Okay, that I get. But I liked Benedict Cumberbatch is a freaking national treasure. I don't care if he's British. He's an American national treasure. I love him so much, and I mean, I'm sorry, his American accent actually to me sounded fine. I forgot. It was weird at first because I'd seen him in Sherlock and I had seen him in Star Trek Into Darkness. I think this was before that, but I knew who he was. I've heard him many times talk, and I knew he had a thick. And I was even okay with them for the sake of not having to like deal with him trying to cover up his accent. I was okay with them. I'm like, okay, Doctor Strange is British. I'm okay with this. Like, I'm okay. Make him British. And then I went in there and within 3 minutes, I forgot that he was even a British guy. I mean, Benedict Cumberbatch is amazing. I liked a lot of this movie. I liked the ending sequence where, they're fighting in reverse time and everything like that. Dormammu was a little Fantastic Four Galactus-y. Like, in my opinion, like him just being a big floaty head with the waves and everything. And it's just like, at least we got a face, unlike in Fantastic Four.
I did like Benedict Wong, by the way. He was probably my favorite
Benedict Wong was great.
My favorite, in this film.
So I'll give it a tier 2. I mean, I could go on for a while about this one, but I'll give it a tier 2 also. So we will put it in tier 2. And then we are moving on to Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2.
Okay, who would like to start that?
Sure, I'll start.
Go for it.
This one was okay. Not as good as the first. Not as bad as everybody made it out to be. I really think that the stars in this one was definitely Gamora and Nebula. Quill and his dad was okay. Baby Groot was there. And Rocket, of course, is again he's a freaking national treasure as well. Bradley Cooper is Rocket. If I could have my GPS on my phone talk like Rocket and tell me where to go, I would go for it. So, but that's it. I mean, I'd probably give this a that'll do tier 3. Not that it's bad, as I said. I'm being picky now because I mean. There's a lot of good movies, and I mean they're all good, so we kind of have to be picky. So, Bossman, I'll turn it over to you.
I think this is a good film, but as I said, like I like Kurt Russell as Ego. He's very bombastic, which I like that to be. And again, like as I said, I think the thing is that, as I said, it's not as good as the first one. I agree with you two on that, but I do think there is good parts to it. Like I like the fact that we get to find out about Eagle's plan, because again we don't know what it is occasionally, and we think that the bad guys actually could be Sylvester Stallone, it could be the Golden People. Sorry, I forgot who they were. The other people are going to be against Adam Strange. It's good, and the thing is that they, as I said, I like the fact that you see their little golden things, and I thought, oh, they're going to be the bad guy. No, it's actually. This planet is actually a bad guy. I was like, oh, I've never heard of this before. And it's actually interesting to see it. But as I said, I agree with you too. It's not as good as the first one.
I haven't given my opinion yet, but okay.
So you're tier 3 also, Boss Man?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Go ahead,
tier
Zam.
three.
Yeah, I think I'm kind of. I'll be honest with you. I'm close to tier four with this film. I think this film is shit. Um, we got to meet what's her face,
Mantis?
Mantis in this film, which was pretty cool. And I thought Dave Bautista was a lot better in this movie. I thoroughly enjoyed his character in this film, but I find the overall story to be shit. I did like the moments with Rocket when he was on his own. Could not stand Baby Groot. I can't stand Baby Groot in this movie. Like,
Yeah,
fucking
Rocket and
awful.
Yondu had some really good parts in this movie.
Yeah.
And we got to see that Stan Lee was an agent of the Watchers.
Also, by the way, when Rocket was like when they did that trans warp thing and their like faces all going all over the place and shit like that, I did like that scene, but I thought too much of it was set on this one planet with Kurt Russell, and it felt more like and I don't want to. I love Star Trek, as we all know, we all love Star Trek, but this almost felt like a shitty Star Trek episode at times, and and that's not good for me. Like this should be more grandiose than that. You know, it felt very bogged down being on that planet. I didn't like it. I didn't like this. This. I felt I understood they had to maybe answer the fact that regarding Quinn's dad, they needed to resolve that, and they did, but it's still a shit film.
Okay.
I'll put it in tier four. Yeah, I'll put it in tier four. But
All right. It's going to sit in tier 3. Me and Boss Man gave it a 3, so sorry, Zam. But your opinions have been noted and tossed out the airlock.
Thank you.
All right, so the next one on the list is Spider-Man Homecoming. So I'm going to start off with this one because I am a lifelong Spider-Man comic book reader. Love Michael Keaton. Love him as Vulture. Hands down. After Civil War, I liked Tom Holland as Spider-Man. I wasn't sold on him. In this movie, I got more of the same. I was still a little bit not convinced, and I don't think anyone could ever be the perfect Peter Parker. So I understand that I am a fan that cannot be happy with anything with Spider-Man. Is Tom Holland the best out of the Peter Parkers and Spider-Mans that have come before? Yes, in my opinion. Tobey Maguire was garbage. Andrew Garfield was a good Spider-Man, but just too much of a emo young adult Peter Parker that was supposed to be in high school. But is he the best Spider-Man so far? He's definitely the best iteration thus far. But still, does he check off all my boxes? No. And as of this movie, as I said, we haven't even gotten into the other movies that he's in. But and the shocker being in this movie and it passing the gauntlets between two people, whatever. Honestly, I think it was a waste. Mostly, it was done okay. But I really didn't like the fact that the Vulture was a rejected Iron Man villain. I get why they did
totally
it
totally different origin to the Vulture, which kind of surprised me.
Yeah, and as I said, it's not that I didn't like the origin. It's like I felt like it was Iron Man. Iron Man's too big to deal with this dude, so now Spider-Man has to deal with it. That's just how it felt. And I don't feel like, and then of course, Mr. Stark. It's like, dude, okay, in Civil War it was one thing. Calm down a little bit on the Mr. Stark stuff. It was basically Iron Man's movie and I almost said Tobey Maguire. Tom Holland guest starred in it sometimes. Robert Downey Jr. chewed up the scenery. Everybody was waiting just for Iron Man to show up a lot of times. So
he saved his ass.
Yeah, a couple times. And I understand that for a young hero to need like a mentor type character, but they kind of overdid it.
He became Uncle Ben.
Yeah, and he became Uncle Ben, and that's another thing. So I am okay with them not doing the origin, obviously. I'm okay with them not even really referencing the origin. The fact that they keep dancing around this great power and great responsibility thing is irritating. I was hoping it would be in this movie because it's cliche for Spider-Man for a reason, because it is in his character. And in Civil War, when they did the whole, well, when you have the power to do something, then you don't. And it's like, okay, you didn't say it there. Whatever. We'll get it in Spider-Man Homecoming. We'll get it. Nope, not in there. And it's just, we still haven't gotten it. And it's just like, it's like a running joke, like Avengers Assembled at this point, like in the Avengers movies. So I am not the hugest fan of this movie. As I said, it might just be I am just a non-pleasable Spider-Man dumbass fan. But then again, one of my favorite Spider-Man movies is Spider-Man 2, and that had some major problems too. So, I'm gonna put this in the tier 3 that'll do tier, and I don't know if I'm in the
Wow.
minority or not. But Zam, go ahead and take it away from here.
Uh, it's a good film. And I think one of the things people wanted out of this movie and they got was a non-origin story, but to a degree, we got like an origin of his character sort of story instead. You know, like you got to be more than just a suit and all that sort of shit. Um, I, it's all right. It's yeah, it's a good film. Tier two. I got. I mean, I like Michael Keaton in the film.
I do too.
Um, the fact that he knows his identity is a bit of a strange one.
Well, yeah,
Um,
and it feels like that's another thing is that like,
like
uh,
always hovering over his head.
yeah,
And when you come I mean, but then again, come to think of it, everyone knows who he is now, so
yeah,
it
but I
doesn't
mean,
matter anymore.
one of the defining factors of Spider-Man is always him trying to keep his secret identity, and if it seems like in this movie and even at the end with Aunt May, it seems like everybody already just knows. And I mean, I know that's kind of different from the comics, and that worked for Iron Man. In Spider-Man's case, because he's a kid technically, I feel like that's different. Like Tony's like
Yeah, I
a
agree.
billionaire, he can protect himself.
Yeah,
Spider-Man's just a kid from Queens.
he's a superhuman strength. He's got superhuman strength and superhuman abilities. But yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, when it comes to his mental state,
Yeah.
for sure.
All right, boss.
Um,
Oh, go ahead, Sam. I thought you were done.
no, yeah, no, go on, boss man.
As I said, I compare this to the other Spider-Man films, and I said the best one to my mind is the one you just mentioned, which was Spider-Man 2. Which again I think is still the best one. But saying that though, I thought this was really, really well done. I love Michael Keaton as Vulture. I thought he was probably the best villain since Doc Ock in Spider-Man 2. And I thought, it had the one villain. Yeah, it had Shocker, but he was only like wearing that gauntlet. It wasn't really like Shocker in the full suit or anything like that. And I thought that was well done. Because I like the fact that he only suited up when he had to. It wasn't the thing where he was overexposed. You saw in everything. It was like literally like when like the thing we were in trouble was like, oh shit, we need to call the boss, right. We need you to do this for us, and he literally come in and like hells. I like that because use a mega villain sparingly. I used the little small villains to build him up, so like you can build him up as like saying, "Oh, we need to contact the boss to get us out of this," and then we just see him in spots there. We see him like in different parts, right? We see him in, I don't know, on that ship, or we see him like trying to take these different things and stuff like that. And he's all to do with him trying to get out of it so we can have a nice life for his family. And that's something that we can do for us because like most of the villains don't really have a good was a motivation, but he does. He wants to provide for his family, which
Well, they fucked up on the timeline as well with this movie, by the way,
I
making it
agree.
8 years later and stuff like that. Yeah, he was a blue collar villain, which was kind of different as well, and it's good to see villains like this, which are a bit more three dimensional and spaced
I
out.
don't actually think so. I think Baron Zemo was more of the first blue collar villain. Like he was from a different country, but he was definitely blue
No,
collar.
no, I never said first. I just said it was a blue collar. I just called him a
Oh,
blue
okay.
collar
I thought you said
villain.
he's the first, and I'm like,
No,
I don't know about
he's
that.
not. He's not the first. I'm just saying he's a blue collar villain, which is a nice change of pace. But because usually when you've got villains who are blue collar, they've almost got a reasonable reason to like their massive grandiose plans and stuff like that. Whilst maybe white collar villains, it just tends to be greed. Yeah.
But I'd say for me it's between tier 3 of 2. I'd say just maybe slight tier 2. But I said if you
Well,
want to put
boss
tier
man, you're the
3,
deciding factor because he's tier 2, I'm tier 3, so you're the deciding factor, bud.
tier 3 because I took about to Spider-Man 2. Sorry,
Oh,
Okay. Fair enough.
that's the deciding factor. Sorry.
all right. So tier 3 it is. And as I said, I didn't hate the movie. I walked out of it pretty satisfied. I think I'm an insatiable Spider-Man
I think
fan.
it's a disservice for Homecoming. But anyway, you guys. Overruled it, so let's go.
All right, so the next one is going to be Thor Ragnarok'em Sock'em Robots. Who did we start with last time? I don't remember. Oh, it was me. Bossman, I think you can start this one.
I love this film. I don't take it by what you're saying. You don't, but I just love this because I love the fact that it starts off with him like rotating round on that little like that hook, and he's talking to Solder, and and then he has like make round. It's like I actually laugh, and then you laugh throughout, and it has. Well, it has Led Zeppelin 3 times. Yeah,
The immigrant song.
the immigrant song, 3 times. It's awesome every time.
I want to know why all these cosmic movies have all of these like old 80s and 70s music. Like they're just now getting these broadcasts that left Earth that long ago.
Yeah.
But I mean, I love that. I love Kate Blanchett as as the goddess of the underworld. I love that, and I love the fact that
Carl Urban as Scourge.
yeah, I like how it's like I went to Texas and I got these. I'm like, oh, okay, I love that.
Hey, Carl Urban is another American national treasure, and we're taking him.
And I love the fact that like it has a humor about it. It's always funny, but there's also serious parts on it. Like Jeff Goldblum is his most Jeff Goldblum. It's like the God of Thunder is just like can I adopt Jeff Goldblum? I know he's older than I am, but I want to adopt him. And it's like and he's great in this. Yeah, and then I love the fight between Hulk and Thor. I love the humor of this. I laughed solidly, and for me, if you make me laugh more than 7 times, you can do whatever they want. So that's the reason it's in my excellent tier because it made me laugh, and that's what any comedy movie should do. And I think this is a good comedy movie.
All right, so phase 1 tier, top one.
Yeah. Phase one for me.
All right, well, I'm gonna go, and then Zam can go. For this one, for me, I'm not saying I hated it, and I did laugh, so I can't say it's Terrence Howard tier, but it is definitely not my favorite Thor movie at all. I felt like that there was a lot of disservice to the Thor character. However, I acknowledge what it did. It reinvented the Thor character. I acknowledge that, and I don't care that they cut his hair. I don't care, but the comedy was just too Taika Waititi. And I know that there's a time and a place, but like the one part that got me is it's at the end, and everybody's talked about it when Surtur's destroying Asgard, and then Taika Waititi himself is saying we will build this, blah, 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 and then he just completely just wipes out Asgard, and it's just like, and he's like, oh, maybe not, and it's like, I hate this, I hated it. Like not the whole movie.
Well,
I hated that part.
Asgard is a people, not a place. Remember?
And that's another thing. Asgard is a people, not a place. And I'm like, oh god. And then how they used Odin in it. I get it. Like he didn't want to be there. Like Anthony Hopkins did not want to be there. He was kind of done with the whole thing. So I think they used him the best they could.
This was brilliant because we got a different side of his acting in this movie as well with him. And if you see the deleted scenes, you see him as a homeless man.
Yeah, I know, right? I would have much preferred that, honestly. And then the whole the end of Thor: The Dark World was just turned into a big joke at the beginning of this one, where Loki takes over the throne, and he just he does the whole holding his head and the hammer's coming back. I was just like, no, I was hoping for more from that. So for me, I'll do that'll do tier. Honestly, I would more do a Terrence Howard tier. But as I said, I don't think this movie is crap. I did laugh, and the Hulk fight was great. I really liked Mark Ruffalo in this. He was really great as Bruce Banner, and not being Bruce for 2 years. He's like, what's going on? What?
That was brilliant.
Valkyrie in this movie is great. I liked Valkyrie. But just sometimes and don't get me wrong, Chris Hemsworth is he's a great comedy actor at this point with this movie. But I just felt like it was this is Thor Ragnarok. This is the end of all things. This is not a lighthearted movie. So I feel like they should have maybe done Thor Love and Thunder with Taika Waititi first, and it being Thor Ragnarok, and maybe do something a little... And I know, people probably would have hated it, because a lot of people hated Thor: The Dark World, but I wanted something more along the lines of Thor: The Dark World, where it is the end of all things, and it's a little bit more somber and a little bit more dark. And then you can go into the Thor Ragnarok of it, and or the Thor, the Ragnarok version where it's more of a comedy. But that's just my opinion. So I'm gonna do That'll Do only because you're right. It did make me laugh. Um, and we got some appearances from Doctor Strange, which was fun. Um,
Yeah.
and the Hulk fight was fun, and Mark Ruffalo was great. And Hela was good. I liked Hela. I wish we would have gotten more of her.
Oh,
The way
she's
they did
beautiful, man.
they did the Warriors 3 though, I hated that. Like the first two just done, and then like even Hogan got a little bit of action, and then he was done. And it's like there should have been a fight with the Warriors 3 and Sif fighting Hela, and it should have been a knockout drag out fight. It didn't have to be super long, but like you have Hela just laying waste to all these Asgardians, and I understand that because she's powerful, but just the way they did the Warriors 3 and it was such a disservice to the characters that we've come to
I
like over the
agree.
past couple movies. So
Well, I would say Callum and having twin, what are the M16s and goes, this is Stroy, elevates it to number two for me. I'm sorry.
no, I know, and I mean, okay, I get, and Carl Urban was fantastic as the executioner. I mean, that was great. Texas, I love it. That was great. But yeah, Zam, go ahead.
For me, this is top tier. Um, you do make some good points, by the way, regarding the negatives. I actually agree with a lot of them. But not
So do I.
regarding, but regarding like it being a bit more somber. I think they really needed to take this film in a different direction, and it worked for far as I was concerned. We got to see Bruce Banner, the Hulk, in a movie which wasn't Avengers as well, which is good because we got to see a character get fleshed out more, which was important. Um, there's so much in this fucking movie. Like the beginning of this movie and the very end of this movie are real bookends to this film because they don't really play a part until the beginning and the end. And what happens in the middle with Jeff Goldblum and with Hella and stuff like that, it's an absolute wild ride of a film. I'm not sure how I felt about Carl Urban's character. I'm not, I just found him a bit weird. You know, I couldn't, and him like sacrificing himself at the end. I just found that all that he just felt too selfish to do something even like that. You know what I mean? You know,
Honestly, I felt like the executioner should have been a character that they introduced in either the first Thor or Thor: The Dark World. You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
I mean, I felt like they could have fleshed out that character a little bit if he was kind of like the Warriors 3 fanboy maybe or something like that, and then like this movie comes along and like Loki makes him like the Watcher or the Watchman guy. And also Hamdall in this movie, he got shafted too, in my opinion. I liked the change they made where he wasn't so stoic, but I still feel like he got shafted in this movie.
By the way, I also want to answer your question regarding the same with Anthony Hopkins at the beginning. So, regarding Loki pretending to be the king and pretending to be Anthony Hopkins at the beginning. This is why Loki would never make a good villain to a degree because he's too arrogant, and Thor saw right through his arrogance. At the end of the day, Loki he might pretend to be somebody else, but he's still going to be himself, and Thor saw that, and which is why he was able to do what he did at the beginning of the film. And I love the Matt Damon cameo at the beginning as well, which is pretty cool, and Sam Neill, which was pretty cool as well. There's some really good moments in the film. We lost Mjolnir. Mjolnir got destroyed in this fucking movie. The foreshadowing of this film is unfortunate because you got a significant thing like Mjolnir being destroyed just to come back later on. You got a significant thing like Thor to lose his eye just to come back in the next fucking movie.
Well, and
So
that's one of the things. It's like you can tell that the MCU was not on the same page with Taika Waititi in this movie because yeah, like the Russo brothers brought the eye back, which honestly I didn't mind. Like if Thor only had one eye in Infinity War.
no, I don't mind. I don't mind. It's not like the be all and end all, but it's like, okay, come on, like you did this, and you're not sticking with it.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
exactly.
Yeah. So like that's all I'm saying regarding that. But the good thing about this movie is like this film leads into Infinity War, and
Directly.
directly into Infinity War, and it just makes you appreciate all the tie-ins now having different directors and different writers trying to make all this shit work. You're starting to see the fruits of the labor with this movie as well.
So,
So this is top tier for me,
all right,
without a
boss man,
doubt.
where did you put it?
Top tier.
All right, I was doing That'll Do, but you guys outvote me for two top tiers. So, Thor Ragnarok, top tier, baby. All right, so let's go into Black Panther.
Okay, I want to start with this. As somebody who's probably the most closest associated regarding the origins is my parents were from Africa. There's lots of Asian people like myself who've been in Africa for several generations, and I thought I would really, really love this movie, but I just found this film to be okay. Like this film, like the hype train for this movie was unbelievable, and I was really looking forward to it, yeah, because I understood the significance of this film and all of that sort of shit, but I just found it to be a run of the mill superhero movie, with like a relative coming back to haunt them and shit. Like it's really cliched in that sense. Michael B. Jordan's great in the film. Chadwick Boseman's great in the movie, but Martin Freeman's great in the movie. But Jesus Christ, Andy Serkis as Ulysses Claw, like the best part of the film. And when they killed him off, I was so gutted. I want to see more of this guy. You know what I mean? And you killing him. He's the best thing about this fucking film. The big battle at the end was kind of stupid between husbands and wives and shit like that. So I was, I mean, it's just the magical flower which it brings you back. I'm getting Lion King vibes at some point. You know what I mean? With the mystical.
Nah, Shawenya.
It was, this film is really popular with a lot of people, and I just find it to be an average movie.
All right, where are you gonna put it?
It's between 2 and 3 for me. I'll make my call after I hear you guys.
All right, Boss Man, go ahead.
Well, I'm going to review this movie on two parts. All right. First, it's the first like black directed, black mainly acted. I mean, as a black majority cast superhero movie that we've had, and I think it's good to have people of all faiths, religions, ethnicities represented. And I think it's good that we have a majority black cast in this movie. So I think that's really good. But I do agree with you. What you're saying, Zam, it is a very trite story of. It seems like very Loki Thorish in a way. That here we have a brother coming back, and it's like, but I did.
Claiming the throne, like cousin came in the throne and all that sort of shit. Yeah.
But I don't like the fact that Killmonger is this ex CIA agent, whatever it is, and that's the reason that he could kick.
Yeah, he was like a proper military guy, but he was brought up in the American military and shit. So
yeah, so that's the reason he could kick. T'Challa's ass. And again, and I like the fact that he's like this violent guy, and you can tell that he's not necessarily a bad guy.
He's just got a different way of looking at things. No, but he wanted to start a race war, dude. He wanted to start a war. He had an issue with it. He definitely had issues. I think maybe I could be wrong with this, but he felt like he had issues with white people, like massive issues. The Killmonger character, I mean, people like Ulysses Claw was a means to end, but he was happy to kill him when he had the chance. So, yeah, that's how he felt. He felt, it might sound controversial, but Killmonger was a racist. He wanted to fight back. He wanted to he wanted to be the oppressor. He wanted to be the oppressor. He was like, done being oppressed. I want to oppress you, motherfuckers. And that was this is what makes
he didn't want to solve the problem. He wanted to shift it. Skew the scale.
Yeah, exactly. And this is what made Chadwick Boseman, Black Panther, a great hero. But he didn't want to do that.
Okay, I'd say it's a 2-tier because of its cultural impact. Because it's the first black directed, black majority cast comic book film, and a film of this type that did really well. A lot of stupid racists were going, "Oh, they're film about black people, directed by black people, starring black people, would never sell." And yet, it did blockbusters.
It was more, even though it was a black cast. Yeah, it felt like it represented everybody. Like it meant there was a bigger thing to this, but it just happened to have a lot of black people in it. If you know what I mean.
Yeah, and here's the thing. It's like because and I've said this before is you got to get the right people to do the right job. I mean, Ryan Coogler did a fantastic job directing this movie. All of the actors in this movie were great, black and white. So it's like, I mean, I have no problems with this movie whatsoever. But when people try to make it like, oh, it's an all black cast and an all black production team and all that's kind of where I'm like, all right, well, you're kind of doing this in the wrong direction. You need to say, look at this black director who did this great movie, who made gangbuster bucks, and because you're kind of I don't is it reverse?
No, basically, this film is about a superhero in Africa, and it's set in Africa. I mean, people will know it's black in that particular sense, and
Yeah, and it makes sense.
and all and all the other things that go with it as well will eventually get mentioned and stuff like that. But I think sometimes you're doing a disservice when you're saying this is the first, because eventually we just want this to be the norm. As somebody who's an ethnic minority myself, who understand, we just want this. We don't want it. We want to be like everyone else. We don't want people to think, okay, there's a lot of black people in this. It's a black thing and shit like that. Just accept it for what it is. You know what I mean? Like the way we see lots of white people in shit, we accept it for what it is. It shouldn't be any different. Whatever that, if it's a film set in Africa, then that's how it is.
Well, but that's how they go. That's how they also go with the Captain Marvel movie. It's like it's a female led movie, and it's a woman director, and it's a blah blah, and it's like, can we just, and even with Wonder Woman, female led, female director, it's like, can we just, I mean, if that's how it happens to turn out, and that's the best person for the job, I don't care if it's a black director directing a bunch of white people. I don't care if it's a white director directing a bunch of, like a bunch of Asian people. Like, I want the best people for the job, and really we shouldn't be focusing on it.
Yeah, stop. We've gone past this now. We don't need to be bringing up these tropes anymore. We're beyond that now. If we want to be seen as all equal, then just
do it.
Just do it and stop like grandstanding this shit.
Yeah.
It's we're all equal now. We're trying to be. Just not focus on these things so it becomes controversial. Because when you start saying this shit, it becomes controversial. You know what I mean? So let's just not talk about it in that sense anymore. That's how I look at it.
Yeah. All right. So where you said you're putting this 2 or 3?
Oh, where you're putting yours?
Oh, I was okay with this movie. I would say tier 2, probably. Boss Man, where'd you put yours at?
Tier 2.
Tier 2? Sam?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Tier 2. Okay. So what's the next movie, boys?
I almost said Star Wars. Avengers: Infinity War.
Avengers: Infinity Wars. I'll start with you, Boss Man.
I thought this was a really, really good movie. I think it sets up, the struggle that the Avengers have to go on to try and stop Thanos from getting the 5 Infinity Wings, and we also see the sort of sacrifices Thanos has to go on to get the Infinity Stone. The only problem I have is, unlike in the comics, you don't really know why he wants to get the 5 stones. Because in the books, he literally loves death. And death is personified by this woman with a skull face.
Yeah.
Well, and the other difference is in the Infinity War comic books, the snap happens at the very beginning of Infinity War. Well, Infinity Gauntlet, sorry. The comic book Infinity Gauntlet, yeah. So.
And then basically, they try to fight him while he has his gauntlet, and basically can't touch him. It literally is like God power. I think that's something that is missed in this, when he has that, I do think that's something that should have been improved with the fact that he has that. But I do like the fact that we see Thor getting an axe, and people going down, they did different things to try and stop him, and like the one where he gets Gamora, and like he goes, I told you to leave. He says. And he's going to shoot her, and he comes up with the bubble gun and stuff like that. He goes to shoot her, and then that bit where he kills her when he pushes her off. He says, "I love you" and stuff like that. And she slats on the ground. I'm like, oh my god, you can't believe it. And they're like, and then whatever the wraith is the Red Skull. I love that, so is what I think. Tier 1.
Me?
Yeah, go for it.
I really like this movie. Very well balanced. I really wish they would have stuck with Infinity War Part 1 and 2. I feel like that, I mean, them naming the second one Endgame is just a marketing campaign on them for us to be like, what's going to happen? If we knew it was Part 1 and Part 2, we knew that Infinity War was not going to be the start and end of this story, which it wasn't, and they lied to us, which is fine because, they're basically, throwing us off. But still, I mean, they should have stuck with Infinity War 1 and 2. So anyway, I mean, I feel like this movie was really well done. I love how the cast of the Avengers was very split throughout this whole movie because you had the space-based ones, which was like Iron Man, Spidey, and the Guardians, Doctor Strange. And then you also had, on Earth, which was Cap and Black Panther and Bruce Banner and Black Widow and all those characters. And I think the way that they did the whole, like, having Vision not get knocked out, like, right in the beginning, like, like, he was, like, the thing that they were
Nerfing him.
after.
They had to nerf him. They nerfed Vision.
They did nerf Vision, yes, I agree with you. But they didn't, like, get the Infinity Stone in that first fight. So it's like, it was kind of like the not the MacGuffin, but like the thing that they were trying to get throughout the whole
one
thing.
Of the MacGuffins.
Yeah, sometimes I'm hazy on the definition of a MacGuffin, but I just really like the way they balanced it. And when I first saw the movie, I wasn't as thrilled. When I watched Infinity War and went and saw Endgame in the theaters, I was much more satisfied with Infinity War. And honestly, I kind of feel like Infinity War is a better Avengers movie than Endgame. So, I mean, we can get into more of that later when we get to Endgame, but I feel like there's a lot going on. There's a lot of characters. Just like Civil War, there's a great balance, with all of these different characters and things that are going on. So, I agree. Top tier for me. Zam?
This film is fantastic. This is top tier straight off the bat.
Top tier.
We got some really good crossovers. We got Thor with the Guardians here, which was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's another good crossover.
Which was really nice. We got Stephen Strange and Iron Man and the Hulk coming down, or just Bruce Banner. This was pretty much just Bruce Banner throughout. We saw Hulk actually getting the shit beaten out of him, which is pretty cool. So we knew how strong Thanos was.
Yeah, which honestly, like, everyone's like, oh, the Power Stone, the Power Stone. I don't think Thanos used the Power Stone on him. I think Thanos was a better fighter than Hulk, and that's why Thanos was able to beat Hulk.
Without a doubt.
Well, everybody says, oh, he had the Power Stone, that's why he could beat Hulk. And I'm like, did you see that fight? Like, he was very tactical in what he did. Like, it was not like, boom, I'm hitting you with the Power Stone. It was like, no, I'm going to outfight you, Hulk. And I hate it when people say that.
I do think he used the Power Stone when he pulled his arm off him. Like at one point he had him pinned, and he just pulled the arm off.
Maybe he did then, but I felt like Thanos won that fight because he was a better fighter, not because he was stronger.
Yeah, because Hulk just goes in there brute force. That's why in a way, to a degree, almost what's his face? Thor beat Hulk in the arena.
Yeah.
Until he got electrocuted, because he's a skilled fighter. So anyways, regarding this movie, how I feel about it, there was finally we got a bad guy winning. Finally, after 20-something movies.
No, Baron Zemo.
Yeah, I know.
But another one that won is nice.
But Baron Zemo's win was overshadowed, in my opinion, by
his capture.
No, not only his capture, but just by what happened between Captain America and Iron Man. It almost overshadowed that.
Okay.
Even though that's what he wanted. Even though you always forget that was the case. You felt Thanos' victory in this.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, and we're all nerds, so we knew that they were all coming back.
Oh, I love seeing Spider-Man dying, though.
Yeah,
I loved it. I love seeing the fact that all the original Avengers lived. Yeah, and Tony Stark got it. Got off quite well because Rhodey lived, his wife lived. You know what I mean? He got off quite well, I think. But what's his face died? Happy died. He got blipped. But he mentions it. But he mentioned when he in Far From Home the blip beard. It's my blip beard.
No, I think he grew that during the blip.
Oh, did he? Oh, fair enough.
I think they knew Iron Man was going to die in Endgame, so that's why they kind of gave him a nice 5-year life without leading up to Endgame.
just going back to this, we got to see Thanos fleshed out. He was the main character in this movie, which was pretty cool. Gamora's death came out, which was kind of surprising. Nobody saw that coming. The snap as well, seeing like pretty much all the Guardians dying, nearly all of them. I
Which I
mean,
thought was kind of crazy. I always thought Drax should have, like, Nebula and Drax should
well,
have survived.
Nebula's not a Guardian yet
Yeah.
at that particular time,
Okay.
and and only Rocket survived.
Rocket. Yeah.
So yeah, that was amazing, and just seeing all of these guys kick it, it was just I just had seen Black Panther die, or what I mean, just like the real cost of it, at the end,
And
and
there were people who had no idea what would, like, and they're in a theater with people's initial reactions. They're like, "Are they really dead? Are they?" And I mean, like, people, like, we're nerds. We know what's coming up. We know that they're coming back. We know how they're coming back. Like, we knew even in the first.
the way they went is the way they're gonna come back. That's how
Yeah.
we knew it, and like but seeing like the end credit scene and with Nick Fury, and by the way, nobody, like this thing. This is the thing. Like this film kind of ruins Captain Marvel, which comes up afterwards, because like nobody calls him Nick. They all call him Fury. Is that correct?
That's what he said in Captain Marvel.
But Maria Hill was calling him Nick the whole bloody time. I'm kind of gutted Maria Hill got snapped, by the way. It would have been nice if she survived.
I
It would have
agree
been
with
really
you.
good. It would have been really good for her character, because she's probably one of the main recurring characters. Sorry, not the main, but one of the supporting recurring characters who never got fleshed out.
And she honestly, she in the comics, she became the leader of Shield when Nick Fury went missing for, or at least died for years. So it's like it would have
Yeah,
made sense for Maria Hill to still be like to be the leader of whatever,
because
whatever Shield was.
it ended up being Black Widow, which is
Yeah.
understandable. But so anyway, yeah, top tier for me. Fantastic movie. Like I mean, I foreshadowed Thanos winning, and which is kind of the only thing, but nevertheless, like what occurred from his win to see who died was fantastic.
Yeah.
Loved it,
And I love
loved
the
it,
audience reaction for the
especially for Peter Parker.
oh
That was
yeah,
the best
there
one.
were people crying. Oh
No,
yeah.
no, no!
It was
Like, shut up.
fantastic. All right, so the next one we're gonna dive into is Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Can I
Zam,
start
go ahead and
this?
start with this one.
I was thoroughly disappointed with this movie. It had some good moments in the film. Some of the action scenes were pretty cool, but you got people like Walter Goggins in this movie, and you're just wasting him in this film. Um, Ant-Man himself was wasted in this movie. Like, for a start, we've got this whole stupid thing about his suit not working. Don't give me that shit. We've got the origin story with him now. We're on a sequel. Have his suit fucking working. And then the fact that I have no problem with the Wasp being a badass, but whilst we're making her a badass, we're not seeing anything from Ant-Man. She's doing all the fucking heavy duty. I mean, she's doing everything. And
Well,
what's Ant-Man doing? This is a fucking movie as well.
well, I feel like this is more, and I was going to bring this up when I did it, but I feel like this was more of a Wasp origin movie because, and Ant-Man is actually one of the primary the primary secondary
Ant-
character.
Ant-Man became the sidekick immediately.
Well, and
You know,
that's
it-
honestly, in my opinion, that's how it. I like Wasp better than Ant-Man, and honestly,
I
I
have
think
I have
she's
no,
awesome.
I have no problem with that at all. I just didn't like. I have no problem with Wasp being a badass, but I wanted to see more badassery from Ant-Man, and
But
we
here's
got
the thing:
hardly.
Ant-Man's not that badass. Like, I mean, he's really not.
Dude,
He
we
does.
saw him be badass in fucking Civil War. Yeah, what I mean, we saw him be so like.
He got
Come
kicked
on.
in the nads by Black
Oh, yeah,
Widow,
but
and he grew
we
big.
we saw him like doing like he did some really cool things prior to that when he was shrinking and fighting Black Widow, getting into Tony's suit and stuff like that. It was pretty cool, man. Like I wanted to see the evolution of his abilities, and he was unfortunately sidelined to a degree, and I really am unhappy. And the ghost character, totally forgettable, totally fucking useless.
Actually, I disagree with you 100% on that one. I really like the Ghost character.
Hated it.
Oh, I like that Ghost
Who was the
character.
fucking villain again? I forgot.
Ghost.
What's the ghost of villain? Not Walter Goggins. Was there another bad guy?
I mean, technically, what's his name? The Goliath, Lawrence Fishburne's character. I can't remember his
Oh yeah,
name.
whatever. Well, Lawrence Fishburne's a guy who's been in both units. He's in DC and the MCU now, but he plays Perry White. Is that his name? Yeah, the editor. So yeah, he's in both universes. So yeah, but yeah, this is 4. I mean, I was so disappointed. I can't even put it in. Yeah, I would like to, but it's 4,
All
regardless of
right.
some of the cool action scenes.
Okay.
And Michelle Pfeiffer coming back. Who gives a fuck? Who gives
Well,
a
that
fuck?
I agree with you. I don't. There were a couple moments that I'm like, wow, this is very
And the
hand fisty. But
the only thing is about this film that is significant is the reaction of the snap happening to everyone but Lang. You know, so he's stuck in the fucking quantum zone or whatever the fuck it's called.
okay, Boss Man.
Um, I I like it a bit better than Zam, but not by much. As I said, I do agree with you. I think that the girl character is interesting because she was a weapon used by Shield as like a infiltrator slash assassin character.
I can't remember. So it was just so
I
poorly done.
yeah, as I said, I just wish we could have had more of like Lawrence Fishburne as Goliath. Like maybe you know, he's like he like scoops up the thing to mess with them and stuff like that. Maybe I'd enjoyed that, you know, because we've seen Ant-Man do it, so it'd be good to see that. As I said, like, but I can't disagree with it. You said Sam though. It was totally forgettable. But
Okay.
again, like it just the fact that it was happening in this like micro dimension and stuff like this, you got around and stuff like
It's
that.
just at this stage now, like at this particular stage of the MCU, you can't be giving us this shit. You know what I mean? Like this is a really not forgettable. This is disappointing, and that's worse. You know
Well,
what I
this also
mean?
came off the heels of Infinity War, and I think that's
No,
one of the things.
no, I totally understand that, but this still could have been. I wouldn't be trying to compare this to Infinity War.
No,
I
I
just
know
want this to
that.
be. I want this to be just as a fun ride like the first film was, and it was shit. It was absolutely shit.
I totally disagree. I'm not saying this is top tier. I mean, I would put this
I
maybe at. Oh, go ahead.
I'd say 3.
3.
I'm 4.
I'm 2. I mean, I really like this movie. I liked it better than the first one. Um, I mean, I love Wasp. She was a badass. I mean, and I'm okay with the Wasp being more of a main character than Ant Man because Ant Man's always been a character that's just like he's there, but he's not like. And I mean, Paul Rudd and Scott Lang has done wonders for that character. But honestly, I feel like the Wasp is a much better character, a much better Avenger. I mean, even you know, with her training and everything. I mean, she's just an ass kicker. And I mean, Scott Lang is just a goof. Like in all actuality, we should have started with the Wasp instead of Ant Man. Like Ant Man 1 should have been about the Wasp. I'm sorry, like I'll say it. So I go tier 2, so we'll have to settle on tier 3. Is that okay?
Yep.
All right. Next up is Zam's favorite movie, Captain Marvel. Boss Man, we'll start with you. Boss Man.
Boss man.
Okay, so we're on Captain Marvel now. Aren't we?
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, this is going to be the comments are going to be fun on this one, considering how much people hate this. But I think it's okay. I love the fact that they tease what happened to Samuel L. Jackson's eye throughout it. Like he bangs his eye, and it's like I like he does stuff. And I think there's like 3 different things where like something happens to his eye, and then what was it that caused it? Him messing around with the whatever that
Alien cat.
The Flarkin.
yeah, and that scratches his eye, and then like at the end it's like going, "I've heard that you got it scooped up by aliens." It's like, I know, and it's just like you like it, you know what I mean? It's like but I like that, and I like Brie Larson as Captain Marvel, and I like Ramboa. I like that. I like that she's like this strong woman, and like you know, and I like the fact that she has to rebuild who she is because she doesn't know who she is because she like lost her memory and stuff like that, and she got to Cadiz and like you know her name is she doesn't even know what her name is because like all she has is this like little sliver of what her name used to be and stuff like that, and she I like that. As I said, for me it's it.
Tier 2. Okay. I'll go next. I really like this movie as well. I like the fact that they brought the Cosmic Cube back. Well, I call it the Cosmic Cube. It's the Tesseract. It's a part of her origin. I mean, Is it a little late for the Tesseract to come back? Yes, but it is. The Tesseract has been gone since the Infinity War. So, well, I mean, technically, we haven't really seen it since. Well, we saw it in Infinity War, but it wasn't really anything relevant since Avengers, I believe. So it was nice to see it, and I put this movie in what I call the Tesseract trilogy, which is like if you watch Captain America: The First Avenger, Captain Marvel, and then Avengers, you get the whole Tesseract trilogy. Like that's if you want to just
Avengers, which one? The
the first
first
one,
one?
yeah,
Okay, okay.
yeah,
Oh,
the
okay. So
space
you watch it
stuff.
in that order. Oh, you watch it in that order. Yeah, I get
If
you.
if you watch it in that order, as I said, I mean, you
Yeah.
get the Tesseract trilogy, which kind of shows how Tesseract got from Germany to to where it is in Avengers. And also, it's just I like the fact that it time jumps is like the 40s, then the 90s, and then obviously Avengers is in the 2012. So there was a lot of good moments in this movie. I like seeing more of the cosmic side of things. I mean, I'm always up for more cosmic side of the MCU. I like Earth-based things, but sometimes it feels a little bit much. I'm glad that they're expanding out a little bit further into that. So I would give this a tier 2 along with Bossman. I'm not gonna. I mean, I don't hate Brie Larson as I don't get into like actors' political views and crap like that. Like, as long as like the person writing it is not trying to form some kind of agenda or something like that. Like the actor is just there to show up, do a job. Like if you're like, oh, you're supporting the actor by watching the movie. Well, it's not really putting some political agenda of Brie Larson's in there or whatever's going on. I try not to really put that in there with that. So I mean, I like the movie, and I like Nick Fury in it. I like Coulson showing back up in it. I wish we would have got a little bit of Min Yang Wei in there. Even just a cameo of her being like, "Oh, it's your first day, huh?" Or something like that. Like, he's been there for a couple weeks and she's like brand new because they did start in Shield around the same time, I believe. So it just would have been nice. I thought it would have been a nice little cameo. And also linking the Shield show and that in a little way. But yeah, I really think I like seeing Lee Pace back as Ronan, even though he didn't do much. But this is one of those instances where I say he could have been so much more than what he was in Guardians and in now Captain Marvel. So, and if anyone wants to see my fan theory on Captain Marvel 2, which I would have still placed in the 90s, it's on Nerd Nation somewhere. I probably have it. But it's a great fan theory, and I'm not going to get into it because it would take way too long. Zam?
Well, you said this was my favorite film, so why were you saying that?
I don't know. I don't know.
Well, you'll be surprised to know that I really like this film a lot.
See, I told you. I knew
I
it.
I was kind of surprised because prior to going in this movie, this film was shat on, but I understood now it was shat on by people who just have an issue regarding certain people, like they're thinking there's too many female characters and stuff like that, and it's by those people I realized, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't give a fuck about those people. I just give a fuck am I watching something good, and this film was very good. I'm not sure how I felt about the Nick Fury character, but he felt Samuel L. Jackson's Captain Marvel Nick Fury felt a million miles away from the Nick Fury we have now. Like he felt like a real oddball. Like what the like in
Well,
everything.
but yeah, he
I
was still pretty young. Like not young, but he was younger in Shield. I mean,
but
he
wasn't
wasn't
he?
the director yet.
But wasn't he Tony Stark? Sorry, Howard Stark had given him something. You saw that in in Iron Man 2 when Nick Fury's talking to
I feel
Iron
like
Man.
that was after this though. Like I feel like that. I mean, I maybe I don't know. I
Yeah,
feel
and all I'm saying is I just found his character to be like he didn't feel like he felt like he should have been a bit younger the way his naiveness, and it was only like a few years, like 20 years before all of this shit. Not even 20 years, sorry. About anyway. I do like this film. I do like this film a lot. I like the way how they done the origin of her, and like it was like back and forth with the time jumps and shit like that. Jude Law's character was pretty good in this. The scrolls were excellent in this. Was it Ben Carlson, the name of that
no.
actor?
The guy from Rogue One.
Yeah, the
Oh,
Australian actor from and he's
oh,
also in Ready Player One as well.
oh, I can't.
Yeah,
I'll look it up.
but he was brilliant as one of the Skrulls. I love his character. I really do. He's become one of my favorite characters in the MCU. Especially even the little scenes of him, like at the end of Spider-Man: Far From Home. With him in that as well. Loved it. This is a really good film. This is a really, really good film. Um, yeah, we got to see Monica Rambeau in this as well as with Maria Rambeau. Just yeah, I like this movie. It's I had a good time watching this, and I like the character Captain Marvel. I really like her. She's a good character. She's I'm root for Captain Marvel. She just seems like a really good superhero persona.
It's Ben Mendelsohn, by the way.
Ben Mendelsohn. There we go.
Okay, so are you tier? What are you tier, Dim? Just
I
for
almost
record.
I almost, the funny thing is I almost want to give this tier 1, but it's a tier 2.
Yeah, I mean it would have been tier 2 anyway, but
Yeah.
all right, guys, here we go. It's time for the game, the end game. I'm gonna start with this one because, yeah, I really like this movie. There's so many payoffs in this movie. I, however, acknowledge the fact that this is a good movie to like a good payoff movie. It's a 3-hour movie, so there are some not even lag issues, but like there's a concrete first act, second act, third act. The first act is obviously everybody scatters, everybody's doing their own thing, everybody's in chaos. 2 is when they start doing the time travel shenanigans and everything, and prepping for that, and then even when they get back a little bit and they do the snap, and then the third is just that entire insane battle at Avengers compound or the Avengers crater at this point, and all the wrap up, like the Lord of the Rings style ending with the wrap up. I absolutely love this movie. This movie is by far it is by far my favorite MCU movie. Being absolutely biased, I love it. Every single payoff, it's so good. It brings the original 6 together, including Hawkeye, might I add, who was not in Infinity War. There's such good character development between Captain America and Hawkeye, and even Hulk, and Black Widow. Even though she died in this one, I still felt like that. Everyone says, "Oh, that death was glossed over." I didn't feel like it was glossed over. I felt like she went out as she came in. Very low key, very stealth. And I don't feel like she would have wanted some big, huge funeral like Tony Stark. I feel like Tony would have wanted a big, huge funeral. I feel like Black Widow would have wanted Hawkeye and Scarlet Witch standing at the side, just talking about her and just saying, you know what, I wish I could tell her we won. And I feel like that's how she would have wanted it. She wouldn't want everybody to be sad, sobbing, with floating a thing of flowers and a thing for her. I really felt like, and I mean, the way she sacrificed herself was just so it completed her story. And that is why I think it is a tragedy that we're getting the Black Widow movie, only because this should have happened before Endgame. It should have been before Endgame. I don't care if it happened like in between. Like, yeah, move Ant-Man and the Wasp.
It happened straight after Civil War.
It should have happened straight after. You are correct. Instead of Guardians 2, we should have gotten Captain America, or we should have gotten Black Widow. I really would. I'm really discouraged.
We have all of those films, but we also have Black Widow as well.
Well, and I wish we would have done that. I mean, okay, yeah, that too. But I feel like it's going to be a disservice to her death in Endgame because we're getting this Black Widow movie. Captain America retiring. I mean, oh my, like how perfect is it? I was on the edge of my seat in that entire battle when he was fighting Thanos after lifting the hammer and everything. I'm like, oh my God, Cap's done. Like he's going to get stabbed through the chest with that big old sword and he's going to, and they're going to kill him. Like, I mean, there'll be some sacrifice way. And for him to retire and to go back and go with Peggy, I was literally getting ready to cry because I am like, oh, like I know, because there was such a completion to his storyline, and it wasn't that he sacrificed himself.
Yeah,
he got his happy ending, even though it was before the beginning.
Yes.
And just this, oh God, this movie. And I mean, and even Iron Man, like I'm not the hugest Iron Man fan, like even in the MCU, but it's like, him, he did it. He put himself on the wire. Like he did it and he snapped it and he did it. And even I was like, what are we watching? Like, how am I caring this much about Tony Stark? This movie is, as an MCU fan, as a Marvel fan, as someone who watches any movie ever, this movie should have gotten awards. This movie should have gotten just the critically acclaimed. I mean, the emotion, like, I can't understand why this movie did not get awards. Like, I'm not even talking People's Choice Awards. How did this movie not get so much, like, cinematic praise? It did so many things in a 3-hour span, and there were hardly any problems. I'm sorry.
Never felt like a drag whatsoever.
No. I mean, they did so. They passed the shield on to Falcon. I mean, they.
I marked out for that.
Yeah, I mean, it's so, yes. And I was so afraid they were going to give it to Winter Soldier, and I'm like, I didn't want that. I wanted Falcon. Sam Wilson felt more like Captain America than Bucky Barnes did, and I felt like they needed to acknowledge it, and they did. They did
Bucky Barnes is damaged goods.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't care what the comic book said. That's what needed to happen there. And I just
for this universe for sure.
Oh yeah, in this universe for sure. And Thor and his mom. That scene there. I know not a lot of people like Thor: The Dark World, but I liked it. And that scene right there, where Thor got to have that closure with his mom, just was one of the best moments of that movie. That moment right there was the Barton farm from Age of Ultron for me. It is something that I didn't know that I wanted and I needed, but I absolutely loved it. I absolutely love that scene more than probably like the entire fight scene at the end, because it's one of those quiet moments.
Can I just add to?
Yeah, absolutely.
Add to your scene, yeah, because after what we saw, what Thor's turned into, like in that same scene, like he calls out for Mjolnir and he gets it after he's turned into a fat, depressed slob. He's still worthy because depression doesn't make you not worthy anymore. You know what I mean? And that's what and those are great moments. Those moments helped Thor become, give him the courage to fight Thanos at the end. The moment with his mum getting Mjolnir back, knowing that he's still worthy. He got his mojo back. These are amazing moments in this film. And you write about payoffs, Bob, because this is the payoff movie. You have all this shit which is stemming from over 10 years. And we got payoffs in various senses, even down to the fucking bouquet with Tony Stark's first arc reactor in there. You know what I mean? So much shit. Yeah, it's unbelievable. I mean, I'm not even going to be able to remember everything. I mean, there's the memorable scenes of everyone coming back and the hammer and stuff like that. But you got this is more than that. This everything. Like even like seeing Iron Man and Captain America meet each other again for the first time since Civil War.
It was so good.
I mean, and the beef is still there and everything, and like Captain America getting his shield back for the first time since Civil War. I mean, I was like, and like there was no action in that movie until the end. Like, who gives a shit about the little fight between them? I mean, that was just a little appetizer to keep us,
You talking about at the beginning?
Between Captain America and Captain America.
Oh, yeah.
That was just a tiny bit of appetizer, but there was no action in that movie.
Besides the very beginning and then Captain, yeah.
What happened at the beginning? Nothing.
Oh, that's just when they go and they corner Thanos and they...
Even that's not action. That's just cornering Thanos, and that's not action. That's not an action scene. The action scene's at the end of the movie.
Oh, yeah.
This film didn't need that. This film is a fucking superhero movie with one significant action scene, and that's at the end. You know what I mean? And it's still, for a lot of people, this is for you, this is the best of the best. I don't want to go on to that because I got regarding the tier list. For me, this is not tier one without a doubt. I was applauding this movie. I was absolutely like, Jesus Christ! To pull this off to be as good as it is I haven't got words. Tier one, Bossman.
I agree with you. As I said, for me, it's between this and Civil War, for which is the best MCU movie. And I probably say Civil War is a little bit better by this, but not by much. because this is a really, really, really good film. As I said, like as you were saying, it's a 3 hour movie and you don't feel it. As I said, like like Interstellar is like that. I put that in like the Interstellar class, which is like I could be there for 3 hours. I didn't even feel that way. I was like, really, like 3 hours, like. And the thing is that because again, like not every scene is an action scene. There's like scenes where like character development happens.
It's
where
pretty
like,
much character development throughout the whole movie, mate.
which is what I like. Like the fact is, the only thing that I would criticize, and this is a small criticism, and this is not a criticism of the film. It's a criticism of the films leading up to this. I wish this was the first time we saw a hero kill a villain. So like we see Thor hitting Thanos with the axe and stuff like that, and we see him dead. I'd rather that was the first time to see it because I think then we get to see has Thor lost his way? Has he that? Because then that always brings up questions that could have been in the film that aren't there because we've already seen them kill villains, and I think
But
that
before the Warrior, he's been killing people for thousands of years.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You know, like
I'm just saying.
but this is not DC. This is not Batman. All of these guys kill people. Captain America is a soldier. He's been killing people.
He was shooting guns in World War II at people.
He was shooting guns in Avengers Assemble.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
But you know what I mean, though. Like like,
yeah, I understand where you're coming from with that, though. Like it would have been a shocking moment where you're like, and we can get it. This is a whole different topic.
But honestly, but Bossman, I actually disagree because we're on a 20-second movie here, and you can't be having the first death of a supervillain on the 20-second movie of a franchise, mate. It's just too far into it for.
But as I said, like the pace is fast. We get the fact that that things that are in the present affecting the past, and the fact that Thanos comes from the past to come back to them and stuff like that. I mean, I like.
Yeah, but if you're telling me that no villain's been killed before this.
Okay, well, I mean, let's not get stuck on. Let's not get. I mean,
stuck like on all of these people are from different universes and stuff like that. Different, like I mean, they never even knew that this was going to happen when they made Iron Man. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
they couldn't even
and I
contemplate.
mean, practically, I understand the impact that Bossman is getting at, but I mean, practically, yeah, I know they didn't know how this was all going to pan out and everything like that. So, I mean, go ahead, Bossman.
Yeah, so like when Tony Stark does the step and undoes it and stuff like that, and like and instead of saying I'm inevitable, he goes I'm Iron Man, and he goes, yeah. And then it's like that was so badass. It's like, I mean, as much as I wish they didn't kill off Tony Stark, I just wish he did the same thing that Steve Rogers did, and just basically said, look, I'm just going to hand over the mantle to you. Because I want to be with Pepper and raise whatever kids we're going to have. Yeah, I'd be fine if that, like, maybe like he gives the. And I think I like the fact that the Hulk tries to do it and it basically destroys his hand. He literally cannot use it and stuff like that. And I like the fact
you didn't want anybody to die. I mean, I know we had Black Widow die, but you didn't want anybody from the good guys to die at the end.
And I think that's a good film. The fact that like I actually thought it was going to be. Hawkeye who died because we saw his kids in the first...
I'm glad that didn't happen. That would have been...
I mean, I thought it was going to be Hawkeye too, but I think that would have been too obvious. I didn't think they were going to kill off Black Widow because I was like, I didn't think that because I knew she had a movie coming out and we didn't know if it was set in the past or in the future, like after Endgame. So I was like... we didn't, so I was thinking they weren't going to kill her. So I'm like, it's going to be Hawkeye. I mean, look at all the bad things he's done. And they just pulled the rug right out from under me with that one.
Yeah.
And regarding the self-sacrifice that came back from Avengers Assemble, like you're not the person to make the sacrifice call. And he did, he gave up his life there and then. And it was a good call back to that. I felt somebody of that. I felt if Captain America died, that would have been cliche.
Yeah,
I'm not sure.
I agree.
And I'm very happy that it was. I don't want to say very happy, but I mean, regarding the storytelling, Tony Stark dying was brilliant. It's unfortunate. I know, and I want him to remain dead. Don't ever fucking bring him back.
No, I agree with that.
And I mean, I don't even know if I want to. I mean, I know it would make like in Black Widow they say there's an Iron Man cameo.
That's fine. I don't mind in the past.
Yeah, but don't bring him back in the future.
Yeah. You know, that I hate people who ruin deaths like that. You know, and
But what
stuff like
about
that.
like in the multiverse of madness? What if they bring him back as like not bring him back fully, but like they go to another they go to
Yeah,
another
but
universe.
but he will never be Tony Stark of our universe. He'll
Okay,
always be, like, he
so
can't
they're
just
not
fit.
resurrecting him. As long as
Yeah,
they're not resurrecting him, you're okay.
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
But even
So
then,
yeah,
even don't get me wrong,
two one.
like I just don't think bringing him back in any capacity, even if it's multiverse, is a good thing.
Okay.
Don't tread on that moment in Endgame
Oh
by
yeah, no,
bringing him
you
back.
can't. That's why I'm like,
Yeah,
yeah. All right, boss man. I'm sorry. Keep going. We keep interrupting you. I'm sorry.
So no, sorry. As I said, tier one for me because it 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 again the film like this where it's like multiple people. Sometimes films like that it can be a bit too busy and you can get lost with times, but it didn't feel that way. I thought it was the best attempts I've ever seen at something like this, and I thought high, very high marks. As I said, I put Civil War a little bit higher because it's a better story and a better through line, but it's not. As I say, it's not by that much. It's as I said, it's just a couple of elements, but apart from that, super.
All right. And with all that, I feel like we're kind of bringing it, well, not bringing it down, but a little bit. So we're all tier one. It's already up there in tier one. We all knew that. Um, let's talk about Spider-Man: Far From Home.
the epilogue of the MCU, of Phase Three, the final film, and I want, if you don't mind, I would like to start. This film for me is tier one. I thoroughly enjoyed this movie. The way it continues off from Endgame, and in a way, a lot of people wanted that. They wanted to know what happened afterwards, and this film gave us that. It made us understand the snap. Um, sorry, we got the sorry, we got like we got images of what happened with the snap reversing, and they're calling it the blip, which was pretty cool. Um, we uh, we got to see Spider-Man in other environments because he wasn't in New York this time. Some of the humor was a bit weird, but him ghosting Nick Fury all the time was pretty cool. I'm not sure how I felt with Happy trying to hit on his aunt, but then again, who could blame him?
Tony Stark sloppy
Um,
seconds.
I don't think Tony Stark's been there. Well, he might have, you never know. But it's like Tom Holland's really good in this. Jake Gyllenhaal's really good in this. I love the double switch. I'm glad um, he didn't turn out to be a superhero. I'm glad that he made a joke about him coming from a parallel universe. Even his reasonings made sense that no one's going to listen to a suit, but you have a fucking cape around you and you've got superpowers, and people take you seriously. And he was a con man, and he did this amazing con. I mean, his technology was so good. He should have just fought differently regarding that. It harkens back to Civil War with him calling his shit Bath, and stuff like that. This film is really, really good. And then with the ending as well, with him being revealed as Spider Man, and we see Jane Jonah Jameson, that was the icing on the fucking cake. What a way to end this fucking saga. An amazing way to end this saga. I loved it. It was very sweet. And this was like, if you see Star Trek 2 and 3, this was the Star Trek 4. Like, we needed like a bit of a feel good factor at times, like some nice happier moments at times. And this kind of film gave us that. It was more, a little bit more innocent to a degree. I liked it, and some of the special effects as well, like um, Mysterio's like special effects with using his tools to hallucinate Peter Parker was amazing. Some of the best special effects I've seen in recent years. It was well done. Really good film. Tier one for me. On to you, boss man.
Well, I agree with you. It is well, I'm Mysterio Mark, so it's going to be tier one for me because I'm a huge Mysterio Mark. The thing is, it's like in this, is like like Jake Gyllenhaal plays it to perfection because again,
Peter
if you
Tingle.
bad,
I forgot to mention Peter Tingle. That's it.
yeah. So I was going to say that I love that Jake Gyllenhaal, he plays it to perfection. Because if you do not believe the fact that he's a hero, when everything fades away, when he's in that I think it's Germany, is it Germany, where all that bar like fades away and you see like people. It's like, oh my god, this has been an entire trek. It's
Oh,
like,
this water monster,
no,
the fire monster.
when he gets in the glasses in the bar, and then like he walks out of the bar, and then
Yeah, yeah.
everybody, and then certain people fade away, and he's and like it's like just wait,
What
and
an idiot,
everybody's
man.
and I just like and I like the fact like he feels bad for having to try and kill this guy. It's like, I don't have a problem with this kid. He just like he had something that belonged to us because we helped Tony Stark come up with all this stuff, and he's just like putting stuff out that happened throughout the Iron Man and Avengers movies. Like, I was there when he did this, and he was there when he did this, and I was there when he did that. It was just like, yes, I love this through line, and I love this fact that he's not a supervillain with like massive powers. He's just a guy with a lot of technical knowledge, but he's somebody who feels like he's entitled, and he is entitled because he helped start without getting the credit. He was basically the guy who helped Bill Gates do Windows without getting the credit. He was that.
But Bossman, I want to ask you a question. Like, Spider-Man, he can't be fooled by people with bad intentions, can he? Because he's got his spider sense.
He can only he can only sense danger. Like, so if he was gonna hold a gun to Aunt May and shoot Aunt May, his spider sense wouldn't go off. But if he held the gun at Peter and he went to pull the trigger at Peter, like if he was going to pull the trigger, then his spider sense would go off.
Wouldn't his spider sense go off knowing that the person with him is not to be trusted?
Unless he was going to harm him. That's how always the spider sense has been portrayed in the comics. Unless there is physical harm or some kind of danger to him, directly, his spider sense is not, like, if someone's gonna like try to kill Mary Jane, his spider sense doesn't go off. If somebody's gonna try to kill him, then that's when his spider sense would go off. And
I get that, but I'm just saying, just regarding not killing him, but just being disingenuous to him. Doesn't that make it?
I don't.
No.
Okay, fine. Okay.
Is it my turn?
Top tier for me. Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
I'm. You guys are gonna hate me. I'm gonna go with that'll do tier 3. This is another one that I just. It does, like, I don't know if it's the director, the writing. I like Jake Gyllenhaal. I like him as Quentin Beck Mysterio. I'm just this whole globetrotting, well, not even globetrotting, but this whole like Spider-Man thing. It's like he's your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. You know what I mean? Like and it's just like a lot of this stuff that's going on. Nick Fury being there as his mentor now. Like, there's always a mentor, and now
Stephen Strange next one.
Yeah, Stephen Strange possibly in the next one.
Regarding your negative, I want to go with your negative. Even though it's top tier, I'll go with your negatives. Him being given a fucking pair of glasses that can control super weapons is the most stupidest thing I've ever seen. I don't give a fuck if Tony Stark's loved him as a son. He shouldn't be getting those glasses.
Should have gave him to Happy, for criminy sake. I mean, who else do you trust with that?
Give it to Rhodey.
Rhodey, yeah, Rhodey, exactly. His military training.
Give it to Rhodey.
That's why he should be the leader of the Avengers. I'm just saying. But anyway, so as a lifelong Spider-Man fan, and as a Spider-Man fan that is insatiable, of course, was this a good movie? Yeah, it was pretty good. Do I feel like this was a great Spider-Man movie? Okay. I like Jake Gyllenhaal as Mysterio. But this whole, like, some of this stuff was just way over the top. And I get it. He's a showman, and it's a different era. It's not like back in the 60s when, like, smoke and mirrors. It's technology, it's drones, it's all this other stuff. So I understand. I'm not saying it's like, oh, it's so unbelievable. No, and we have a nanite Iron Man suit. Like, I believe it. But it's just like, I just felt like it was all... And he was a discount Iron Man villain at this point. He was just sloppy seconds. Iron Man sloppy seconds. He's like, well, this is another Iron Man leftover villain that should have been an Iron Man villain in practicality, because he had, Quentin Beck had a beef with Iron Man. Vulture, Adrian Toomes had a beef with Tony Stark. Like, it just, I really had a hard time getting on board with this. On top of that, them being in Europe, I like Europe. I went to go to all these places in Europe, and I don't mind seeing Spider-Man sometimes in these places. However, it's just too...
He has been to Europe twice, I'll give you that. Um, he was in Civil War, just in case you're
Yeah,
wondering.
yeah,
Yeah,
no,
so
I
he's been
know.
to Europe. Yeah, so he's been to Europe twice. But I don't mind that though. Like, I do feel like I understand, but like Spider Man is, he's more than just the New York, mate. He really is.
I
Even though
know.
he,
In the MCU and nowadays, I get it. He is more than that, but I feel like we need to establish him as the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man from New York, and I mean they right out the gate. And I get it. This is a different Spider-Man. I am the insatiable Spider-Man fan, so I get it. Like, don't.
I'm actually one of the few people who are really on board on him being Tony Stark's successor. I love this. This is
Yeah, I
a
don't. I am
different.
not on board with that at
I'm
all.
totally fine with that because this is different.
Maybe when
You
he's
know,
older, but I am
this
not
is
on board with this right now.
I have no problem with this at all. With this overarching universe and so many different factors into play, it makes sense in this world. Maybe in other worlds we'd have to do this shit, but there won't be a Tony Stark for him to be a mentor of. You know what I mean? But nevertheless, I'm loving this. I'm loving that he's playing with all his tech, and he's a boy genius, Peter Parker. He's a scientist. You know what I mean? He'll make this work. I love it.
And
I love it.
honestly, I don't feel like they portray that a lot in this movie, like him being a boy genius. I mean, okay, so
Well,
he did all the technical things with the but how much chemistry have we seen from him? He does lots of chemistry in the comic
but
books.
it's the origin story though. We know who he is.
No,
I
the
mean,
chemistry, like just like of making web fluid, all the he knows
but
chemistry.
that was brought up very briefly in Civil War
Exactly.
When Tony Stark met him, and he was very impressed by the fact that he was able to create that webbing fluid and
Well,
stuff like that.
and that's what I'm saying. Like, one of the more impressive things about Andrew Garfield's Peter Parker was that he did invent a lot of. I know that that Oscorp kind of got him the web, like the base of the webbing and stuff like that. I understand that, but he was able to create. He built his own web shooters. He did, and you saw it. You saw it. And I mean, like right now, it's like he's Tony Stark level, where he's just like, hey, Friday, make me a suit. And then, I mean, all he does is sits there and he pieces it together on a thing, and it's like, hey, look, I have a suit. And it's just like I feel like we're missing the I feel like we're missing the base point of Spider-Man in these movies. And I'm not saying it was a bad movie.
I see where you're coming from. I see, but he is like he's a poor kid, and he's also trying to be a superhero at the same time, and it's a struggle. It's a balancing act, but I don't feel that element of him having to juggle so many things has been changed. I just feel that the environment is different, and now his identity is being revealed. It's a whole fucking different ball game, and I'm loving this. This is fresh, this is original, and it still feels familiar. I love it.
So we're doing top tier because you both were top tier, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So that wraps it up, everybody. We have got our list. I'm going to run through them really quick. Our Phase 1 tier is Iron Man, Captain America, the Winter Soldier, Captain America Civil War, Thor Ragnarok, Avengers Infinity War, Avengers Endgame, and Spider-Man Far From Home. Our Vision phasing tier, Phase 2, is Iron Man 2, Captain America the First Avenger, Avengers, Guardians of the Galaxy, Avengers Age of Ultron, Ant-Man, Doctor Strange, Black Panther, and Captain Marvel. That'll Do tier, which is our third tier, is the Hulk, Thor, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, Spider-Man Homecoming, and Ant-Man and the Wasp. And the Terrence Howard tier, bottom of the barrel, Iron Man 3 and Thor the Dark World. Gentlemen, how do you feel about our... Yeah, there's just two. Gentlemen, how do you feel about our list? I know we all had our compromises we had to make, but...
Well, if we're gonna do this again, I reckon we should do this to the DCE movies, and I think we're gonna disagree massively on that.
I am totally on board with doing DCEU because I've got some strange opinions on the DCEU movies.
Yeah, fuck it, I'll do that too.
I'm all on board.
But if you invite me back, I'll definitely come.
I want to quickly add that the fact that there's only 2 films in the bottom, in the bin of this kind of shows you one amazing job. Yeah, like the standard. I mean, how many films are at the top?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Really, our biggest one was the second tier, which 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There were 9 in the second tier. There's only 5 in the third tier and 2 in the bottom tier. So that's 7 total. So there's just as many in the bottom 2 as there are in the top 1.
So 16 films from good to excellent. is something you could that's more than, I mean, that's majority of their movies, and just two duds, and I mean, they should be pretty happy. No wonder the universe is so popular.
Yeah.
I mean, like
Well, it's because
to
they
knock.
kept it's because they kept the quality up.
I mean, exactly, and to knock it at the park as many times as they have. I mean, even like, I don't want to give anything away regarding One Division, and I won't. But they've been knocking at the park with One Division as well. That's all I'm going to say regarding that. Yeah, they're still knocking out the fucking park. The levels of genius in the writing teams, and you have to give. I hate saying this. You have to give Disney credit because they're doing it with Star Wars now as well, with Mandalorian. You know, it's just genius
It's
level
just
shit. They
it's just because that Marvel put the right people in the right place. I mean, Kevin Feige is one of the main reasons that this is where we are today. I mean, Star Wars is in the state it's in right now today because of Kathleen Kennedy. I don't hate Star Wars as much as some people do, like the current Star Wars, but I mean, the writing's on the wall. Kathleen Kennedy, the executive producer of everything, is what drives it, and Kevin Feige knocks it out of the park. Like he.
Well, and I think that's what DC needs. They needs that like Kevin Feige guy, even if it's like someone like Jeff Johns, Grant Morrison, Grant Ruckus, somebody who's like written for them before, knows.
Guys.
All right, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed the tier list. Don't forget to subscribe on the Nation, as well as our Discord, as well as Facebook. Look at the logo on our YouTube, and then if you want to find us on Facebook and Discord, look for the same logo. But there are a few groups called Nerd Nation. Thank you very much, Bossman. Thank you very much, Cousin Cheetah, for joining this. Thank you very much for being part of our tier list. We've had all 4 parts. If you've only seen this one, we've got some other ones as well. Make sure you look on our YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe to it as well. Thank you very much for watching, and have a nice day. Bye-bye, guys.